and am well versed in death. But I want to have faith in humans. Give me something to believe in. Earth below me, sky above me, fire within me. Brought to you by UPRN Network. I'm Trish Mo, and this is The Missing Piece. Good evening, New Orleans. It is October 24th, Monday. I'm your host, Trish, and this is The Missing Piece on 105.3 FM New Orleans and the United Public Radio Network. And I do want to also thank Her Nation for sponsoring an hour this evening, as well as welcoming my guest back, Jo Montaldo. We reconnect about every few months, every 6 months maybe. Catch up on UFO talk. And
see, I'm dressed up like a hitman for Halloween, so you better watch that.
I was gonna say, is that how you normally look?
Actually, it is supposed to. It just depends what tie I'm wearing. No, a friend of mine, Gregory G, types in, "Oh, he said we playing Mafia tonight, huh?" It's actually, if we was playing Mafia, I would have the vest on. I don't have the vest on, so we're not playing Mafia tonight. But I'd have the black tie.
I was just talking about that as far as aliens and monsters and such goes, and a hierarchy like the Mafia.
Well, I guess, I was listening to the show before you. It was the Horsefall Chronicles, and they had a priest on. He was talking about this afterlife experience he had. And it sounds like he was gone for years, which he may have been. But the more he talked, the more it sounded like an abduction. And at one point, I just wanted to interject, and I'm like, no, Joe, it's not your show. Don't go screwing with people's shows. But I really did. I was like, well, what happens if this was an alien abduction? I said, it sounds just like one. You got taken. You were gone for a long time. You learned all kind of stuff. They offered to keep you, but if there was they showed you a glimpse of the future so you could see your family, so you went back. I said, man, if I had $1 for every time I heard that, I could have freaking retired. and not because it was, they were talking with demons or angels or something. So my problem with all this has always been the same thing. I've seen a lot of strange stuff in my time, and how do you determine how do you know what's an angel and what's an alien? I mean, if you listen to Hitler and you read his book Mein Kampf, he's describing these fair-haired, blue-eyed, blind angels, which sounds just like the human-type alien. So I'm kind of confused sometimes. I think we got confused along the way.
It's funny you mentioned actually all of that and get out of my head, because I just before the show, I had all these questions I wanted to ask you and your opinion on certain cryptids and things like that, if you consider them like biblical or alien or demon, things like that. So
we do have demons on the network. We can't tell you who they are because one of them might be listening and I'll be in trouble. But
but that's what I said. I said there is, if you imagine a hierarchy, kind of not really, well, maybe kind of like the mob. And the way I explained it was when I lived in Buffalo, New York, actually, in the old industrial part. One neighborhood was the Irish district. Then you had like the Polish district, and then you had the Italian district, and each one of those districts, I mean, they all had absolutely amazing food, were 100% respectful to women and children and stuff, kept the petty crime off the streets, for that matter. I never had to worry about somebody breaking into my car or trying to sell me crack on the corner or something. Never wanted to cross them, however, as far as you didn't want to owe them money or anything. But other than that, it was, as long as everybody kept their own districts, it was fine. Like we all got along. So
it was weird. I mean, where I grew up at, I had a weird raising because I grew up in several different things. My dad built homes for a living, so we'd buy some land, build about 10 homes, and we'd move in one of them, and we'd stay there for a year or two, and then we'd do it again. So I was moving about sometimes as soon as every 6 or 8 months. One year I changed schools 3 times in 1 year. And I was like, Jesus, it's just a lot to do, a lot to deal with. But doing that helped me to kind of I guess it makes it easier for me to deal with other people and to talk with other people and to mess with other people. But I have noticed, just like aliens or demons or gods, people do. Everybody falls into some little category along the way. And I think those categories judge a lot of what they dictate as bad or good or indifferent. Because, I said this before, which I got a bunch of hate mail over. 9/11 was a horrible thing for America, but not for the Muslim world. It wasn't. It was a woohoo, yeah, look what we did. I mean, it was a half a billion of them celebrating. There was 100 million of us upset, or 300 million of us upset, but there was a half a billion of them out there having a big party. So a lot of this is really truly perspective, and like I was
Hmm.
saying about the show before you, it's really in the way you look at things. So knowing this man grew up very religious, it would make sense to me that he would fall that way into religion. With Hitler, it also would make sense because he was raised that way, but he also seemed to have a sense of maybe it was more than religion.
Hitler was very, very different, though. Most people don't realize in his younger years.
He
You
was.
would have thought of him as on a very spiritual path and going a completely different route
The,
than
the,
he
the
he
problem with
actually
him
ended up
is he was
taking.
brilliant, but he went insane. It's just
Hmm.
he had brilliant ideas. I mean, he was revolutionizing Germany, but he just somewhere along the line he started believing his own propaganda is what happened, and I think that happens even with
Well,
everyday
what was
people.
what was the guy behind oh my gosh, what's his name? That did a lot of that led Hitler down a lot of.
Oh, I can't. Now you didn't said I'll never
You know
remember
what I'm
his
talking
name.
about? It
Now,
wasn't it
yeah, I know who
wasn't
you're talking
s-
about.
it wasn't Stal I mean, it wasn't
No, it
Stalin.
wasn't.
It was the same
These goose stepping, gray dressed.
yeah,
I
he was
can't. I
actually
can't
the
think of his
one
name.
where you could see where Hitler started kind of transforming into a completely different, more on the evil side of.
And then because of Hitler's research into medicine and different types of, I guess I don't know what you'd call them, but just different areas in existence. Some of it would be called paranormal, some might be called religious, but really for him, he like with twins, he wanted to know what the connection was, why twins could feel pain, on the other side of a planet or something, or why they knew the other one was in trouble or something. Those psychic connections he was very, very interested in. I guess because he figured it would be ways for his people to communicate without having to use phones or telegraphs or anything else. It would make it instantaneous as well. But he just went overboard instead of stopping, the experiment and saying, okay, we've learned this much. He decided he wanted to dissect them and take them apart, and it just kept going and going and going. He just couldn't stop himself. And I don't know how much of it he actually signed off on. I mean, a lot of the experiments I heard about, a lot of medical experiments I heard about, I don't know if he actually signed off. I don't know. In other words, he just signed a paper, and whoever's in charge of his medical stuff just took over from that point and said, "Yeah, go ahead and do this under Hitler's name." And there's no way of knowing because he killed himself and never got to answer any of the questions, and nobody else would answer anything. Everybody
Well,
who
and
went to
there
trial was
gets
like,
to a
"Screw you."
point in war with, regardless of who's doing it, whether it be the person signing off on it, the officer, whatever, down to like even with the US in past wars, down to like the private carrying out certain orders, because Vietnam, for instance, or even World War One or two, there were uh, all the way down to the privates, they did things that would be considered war crimes now, even interrogation processes and things like that, that their higher ups didn't sign off on, obviously, but the privates became so, it's like they were the ones on the front lines, so they became numb almost to war, essentially. So it they lose part of their humanity at that point, where it doesn't affect them as much, I think.
Wow, the cord stretched across it. It does, though. It does affect him that way. I think it wears out. I'm turning on one of the other computers while I'm talking to you, and I wanted to make sure that they could hear us on Spreaker because the rest of the computers were on, but I kept noticing this weird purple looking, like I'm not connected kind of deal. So it is. Sorry about that, guys and girls. Hey, we got to make sure everybody can hear us. We got lots of different venues to listen on. We want to make sure they can hear us. Hey, I think the more you deal with it, the crazier it gets. Like Papa Doc, everybody else. I just think it wears on you. And it's like when he was talking about reincarnation. Reincarnation is a tough thing. I mean, there's at least two ways you can rule it out. It's again, it's all what you want to believe, because you can believe you come back, or you can believe you go on the other side. But see, I have an issue. Okay, so I die now, and I go spend 150 years on the other side, and then I come back. Well, my brain's, my soul, whatever you want to call it, it's not going to be nowhere near ready for that kind of lifestyle, that kind of technology. It would be like taking a caveman and having him reborn today. He wouldn't know what the hell. He'd probably go insane, probably end up in a freaking loony bin somewhere. I think one of the things is we need progression. If we're going to die and come back, there has to be a progression in order for the human mind to adjust. I mean, you can't just all of a sudden go from flicking your bick to flying across time and space. It just doesn't seem like your consciousness would work that way, unless you're being educated on the other side, which is always a possibility.
Well, one thing that happened to me after my most recent near death experience, I guess, I did the whole flashback of different points in my life, all the way back to probably before I was born, for that matter. But then what's happened in the, let's see, 4 years since then is I've actually revisited every one of those situations that was a flashback in my living life. And this was hard to wrap my head around for a long time. I revisited every one of those situations to look at it from a different perspective, and have also encountered the same scenarios again, as if to see what decision I would make the second time around. And so it's been an interesting, it has completely changed I'm like, okay, so I actually did die, and this is my reincarnation, and I'm actually going back and learning all these things
Because you was
I
a
did my
bad
life
girl,
before.
that's why.
And or yes, going back to like the
Yes,
Egyptian
because you was a
theory.
bad girl, or a bad
Well,
boy, more than likely a bad girl,
well,
though.
I don't think in this lifetime I was. I do know that I am serving, like I'm pretty sure I was a German scientist in a previous lifetime, which would probably, going back to the Hitler thing, cause me to serve a lot of karma in this lifetime, because I haven't been bad. And I haven't, it's like in this lifetime, even the thought, even if I think about doing something wrong, I mean, I'm hit with like instant karma like you wouldn't believe, immediately. So I can't even think about doing something wrong without getting in trouble for it in this lifetime, which makes me think that I was really bad in previous lifetimes. But it's changed my perspective on the whole reincarnation thing, and now studying Egyptian theories on that. They believe that your um your personality, which goes along with ET's perspective, I guess, your personality stays with your shell of a body, and they call it your spark. Your soul goes and travels the universe. So if that's correct, then we're all dead and our personalities are just on Earth, right? And that means that your soul could be doing all your work out in
Mm.
the ether, out in the universe.
It's
So
it's it's weird for me. A lot of times I feel like I'm going backwards. So
it's like
it's
Benjamin
just
Button.
well, it's just when it's like technologies, or things that people don't. All right, so we'll be talking. Sometimes I'll be talking to friends or the wife or somebody, and we'll be talking. I'm like, some things to me are just common sense, but for some reason, the majority of the world can't figure it out. It takes all kind of bullshit and hurricane and
Yes.
blows up and killing before they figure it out. And I just don't understand, because I mean, some of it's common sense, and then some of the technologies to me feel dated. Like
Yes.
they should be faster. They should be a little different. Definitely should be flying vehicles in the air, and it just feels different to me. And I was talking to a friend of mine about one time. He's like, and then I'll describe stuff, and then 10 years later, you'll see something along those lines. He's like, "What the hell?" I said, "I don't know, dude." I said, "Obviously, I was really bad." And they said, "You know what? You're going backwards, you bastard, because you're going to start from the beginning and fix this shit."
Yes.
I was like, "Well, what could I do?" And then sometimes I feel like maybe it is the past, and I was really, really, really bad, and they're just screwing with me. Because a friend of mine goes, he said, "With that ego, you must have been pretty bad." I said, "But I didn't have that ego when I was young. I was
Yeah.
actually very shy when I was young. A friend of mine, I remember when I was about 35, 36, when I got into radio, he's like, wow, he said, you've changed so much. He said, you didn't even like to talk to people. He said, now you're on the radio talking to everybody. He said, I don't know. And he said, it's true though. It's weird. Well, people change. It is true. I do have friends that haven't changed at all that are now in their early 50s or late 40s. And,
I have family members that are in their, almost 80s that haven't changed. But
mm,
again, I think that has to do with each individual's, um, whether they choose to
oh,
or not.
my favorite psychic told me I was a vampire for 4,000 years. And she said, you were a very bad vampire. They stabbed your ass, killed you. She said, you're just now coming back. I'm like, what? I said, yeah, they wouldn't even let you come back for like 1,000 years. I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? She said, you were
Yeah.
bad. She said, you see this reading? She said, you was a bad vampire. I was like, wait,
I
stinking
had
ass
dreams of that
humans.
too. I had dreams of being a vampire. I had dreams of being a witch. I had dreams of being burnt at the stake, like almost
That means
literally
that
every
would have been, and that would
lifetime.
have been probably in Europe if that happened. There weren't many people burned at the stake in the Americas.
I mean, literally, like I had dreams of medieval times and being in battles and all kinds of stuff. So I know that, especially being a
Well,
redhead, I've probably been here since
well,
the
because
beginning of time.
like the Welsh, the Welsh, the Scots, the Irish, all of them, they were all probably descendants of Vikings. All along
Yeah,
those areas, like there in England, all through there along the coastal villages, they were probably. And somebody the other day said, "Why do you know that?" I said, "Because they used to rape and pillage." I said, "So I'm pretty sure a lot of those descendants are descendants of Vikings." And they said, I said they even kind of got that kind of look about them. But and yet, to be honest, the Welsh and Scots were crazy, still are crazy for that matter. I mean, they just got
yeah.
bad tempers. Who said that about Native Americans? I don't know. Some Native Americans are very agrarian, and some Native Americans got bad tempers, but some are very agrarian. And they don't
But
want to
see, I've
fight.
got the native background. I've got the Irish and Scottish. So I've got the Celts. And then I've also got the African. So I'm like all three.
It's well, I know my grandma was Irish and was Scottish and Cherokee is what she was. And I was like, Lord have mercy on the whole soul. But the whole family used to always say she was half and half, but I had my DNA done, so I know that wasn't true. It was more like probably 20% of each. And but for me, I should majority be Italian, but the majority of me is Welsh, Scottish, Irish, English, which is like 44%. The Italian Mediterranean is around 30%. And that includes the Mediterranean stuff. For some reason, there's a bunch of little Mediterranean countries. I guess my family was screwing their way through back in the day until they got to wherever the hell they were going. And then it's weird too because we have a strong Spanish side, even though our family comes out of Venice and moved to northern Italy and then moved to Europe. It's we have a bunch of them moved to Spain and lived there for about 100 years, and then moved to places like Venezuela and Ecuador and down in the Americas.
A
And
lot
then
of people
finally,
have
some
a
of them moved to
Spanish
here.
bloodline. So, I mean, they,
So, like I said, I'm an American because I could just sit here and claim ancestry all day long. That's a good African friend of mine. I said, dude, he said, I'm African. I said, you're bullshit American is what you are. I said, go take a DNA test. So he goes and
mhm.
takes his DNA test. He comes back. He said, I'm only 25% African. What the is going on here? I'm like, I said, because somebody in your family was screwing around.
Yeah.
I said, unfortunately, our families don't keep accurate histories.
No.
Uh,
And when I learned that when I started doing my genealogy, because, there was like my family literally fought each other in the Civil War on opposite
oh,
sides.
yeah. And the bad part is that's not that uncommon in America.
And then, one side of my family came over as Irish slaves, and the other side came over as African slaves. Well, slave owners back in the day bred their slaves because they wanted a stronger, more resilient slave. So they would breed the Irish slaves with the African slaves. And so then, somewhere in my family history, there was and nobody talked about this. Nobody knew this. And here I was reading the census, for years, the which said um dark skinned or things like that. And I'm like, oh,
Yeah, what was I a
oh.
throwback? What's going on here, man? Somebody's a throwback.
Somebody's
It's
lying about something.
yeah,
And
somebody's lying.
so I figured out that and they were both slaves, just half from Ireland, half from Africa, and they did,
Well,
fight for their freedom as far as in the wars and the Civil War. You could buy your freedom by fighting for it, I guess, back then.
you could, and
And
not people don't realize it because we always talk about slaves and we always thought and as America because we always that's where slaves pretty much ended for the most of the world, but everybody forgets the Romans and the Greeks, and not just them,
oh
the
yeah.
Persians all had used slaves. So let me explain this to you people. It wasn't no race on this planet safe. It didn't matter. The Greeks and the Romans
Mm,
didn't care what color you were. If you weren't Greek or Roman, you was a freaking slave. It's just the way it worked. When you look at all those arena fights, you don't see Africans them portraying Africans in there. Those are all white people. It's
yeah.
people just forget sometimes that it's not. It's you get locked and focused on one thing, but when you look at the whole world, it's not actually what's going on. The job is just to get it out of the place. What do you mean aliens? What alien support slavery? Okay, if you say so. What alien support slavery? I want to know what group of aliens is so I can tell them not to abduct me. Oh Lord, y'all are
Cinderella,
smart.
one of the original stories of Cinderella was based on princess who was in from Egypt, and she fled when her kingdom was overran, and she would have become a slave, and she fled. And a prince from another country, ended up finding her, rescuing her, and she became the first high queen of Ireland and Scotland. And she was a slave, a refugee slave from Egypt, but she was white, she was light skinned. So
I have been lately. It's nice to find out that a lot of the pyramid builders weren't slaves. We forever we always were told everybody who built the great pyramids and the great cities were slaves, and then we found out it wasn't true.
why people build skyscrapers nowadays, and they're not slaves, they choose
Yeah, I
to do
know.
that.
It's just
They
and
choose
then now
to
they because lately
construct,
they've
be
been found on.
architects and construct
Yeah, well,
things.
just recently they found some of the cities that are built on the side of the places where the people used to live that were working there, and they realized they found, ladies and gentlemen, you're going to love this. They found Egyptian porn.
Oh yeah,
So
I've seen that.
you've seen that. So in this place where they found this city built on the side of one of the places where they used to work, they used to live and sleep and eat there, and then go to work on whatever pyramid or whatever city they were working on. And in this city, they found this piece of papyrus that was circulated around that is actually Egyptian porn. It's pretty damn graphic Egyptian porn. I got to tell you, when I seen it, I was like, wow, that's as good a porn I've seen today, man. What the hell's going on here? It's funny. It puts them in context with humans alive today. It lets us know that our ancestors were just as perverted as we are, or worse. But it was interesting to see it in the fact that it ties us closer together because we always look at the Egyptians as enlightened or whatever, and come to find out they're just like the rest of our dumbasses. Unfortunately for them, they're just like the rest of
Some
us.
of them were just bigger than us, but I mean that's with
I'm
anyone,
not,
even in the U.S. They found the giant skeletons and things like that.
oh, I don't want to see no giant porn. Whoever wrote that, I don't want to see that. So just out. I don't even want to think about it. It's on so many levels. It just could go so wrong. Let's just not go there, people.
There has been so many. I actually, this is a big thing with art museums, and in sculpture work and such. I don't know if they found, I mean, I'm sure they found Egyptian like toys and stuff, but there has been tons of different marble sculptures from Greek and Roman times, found in different
And you know what? I
areas of the
noticed
world.
most of the anatomically correct Greek and Romans were anatomically correct. They were actually being honest, which was surprising. Most of them were anyway. Some of them were, a little exaggerated. But we won't talk about those. There's a lot of marble sculptures still around, still survived all that time. Because a lot of them were stole. Well, they were stolen out of the different temples and brought to rich people's homes and
Yeah,
kept there and
especially
handed
during
down. And
wars and
yeah,
invasions and stuff, a lot of art
yeah,
was
and then
stolen.
handed down or sold or auctioned or what have you. But they were on there. Carolyn, what are you talking about? Oh, I did say that, Carolyn. I did say there are things that rule out reincarnation. Just whatever you want to believe. That's what. All right, real quick, because you're going to change our topic on us. But so, so when I do regression therapy or regression hypnosis, or when I do hypnosis in general, I can bring you back to the moment of birth. And when you tell me about the moment of birth, it's the identical description of the moment of death. There's a tunnel, usually with lots of white lights. When you get to the end of it, there's people there who know you and love you, and so. But it's both ways. People say that when they die, that's what they describe, and when you're reborn, that's also what you describe. So there is a good possibility that when you die, you're simply reborn. Whatever available body is open, and it's a good art. That's why people argue. That's why anti-religious people argue against religious people about the soul for abortion, saying that the soul doesn't enter to the moment of birth.
Oh,
And so, that's just an argument. I'm not saying it's true or not. But don't write to me because I'm not even going
I
there with you.
have a
Good,
recent discovery, self-discovery, that could argue that actually.
good. That's a
Because
good
I've
thing.
I've always even I've always contemplated whether the soul is incarnated in the body after, like at the time of birth, literally at the time of birth, or also does a C-section affect, because that's like a man-made portal technically,
It is
you know.
it is technically man made. It's weird for me because I used to lay on Linda's belly when Joe was 3 or 4 months old and talk to him. He'd kick me in the head, or he would actually snuggle up to the side of my face or the side of my body, and he would know if it was me if I was laying in bed because he'd actually push his way trying to get up against me. Well, it was mainly for the warmth, but when I would talk to him, he would always respond. So, was that just responsive hearing the voice, or was there actually life there? That's a hard
So
question.
another thing though, I remember, first of all, I spoke a different language when I was born. I spoke some bird language, so clearly I had
Not even
either.
damn ant people language.
But I wasn't remembering that from after I was born, obviously. Once I was already outside of the womb. I knew that from being in my mother's stomach, of which, obviously my parents spoke English, so but so there's that. But also in the most recent years, being a chimera, however people say it, I realized that, because I had to come to terms with this, and I had to have her come to terms with this as well. I was being haunted by my twin, like quite literally, which makes sense because if I technically, especially in Navajo beliefs, like I technically killed a family member before I was even born. Not on purpose. I mean, I'm sure it was like survival of the fittest or something. I absorbed
Mm.
my twin, but I was haunted by her all these years. I didn't recognize it until the last few years. But that means that was already a soul, whether or not born, but even as an embryo, which would change what we think about reincarnation altogether.
That's the thing, yeah. And I don't know. Reincarnation is strange. I've had quite a few people who's absorbed their twins talk about it took them time to reconcile the difference that they absorb part of the personality.
Yeah,
Uh, it's so that, but
absolutely.
that then of course then that suggests that of the baby had a personality before it was born. So it's a see that's why it makes abortion makes such a hard argument because we don't know. If something like if some super being or some alien would come down and say, "Oh no, it has a soul from the moment of conception," then that means every abortion's been a murder. So we don't want to think that. It's a tough one. That's why I stay out of it for the most part. Every now and then I get in the middle of it, but because it's
The
fun to argue
only
about.
thing, as far as abortion goes, whether you're for it or against it, or what have you, that I have been made to see for whatever reason, over the years, is that it disrupts the balance of the laws of the universe, whether people believe that there is that or not. So essentially, so this even goes back to, people argue this about, you always see ancient stories about sacrificing children to the gods, right? And everybody's like, well, we don't do that now. Well, in some countries they still do, yes. But people say we don't do that now. There's nobody sacrifices children to gods anymore. Nobody believes in any of that. Essentially, that's what if there is some law of the universe for these checks and balances, then yes, abortion would fulfill that, right? If those are in
It
fact
would.
souls, then you're still
Hi, I'm
sacrificing
Laura Lee.
something. I was gonna say,
I've been
hey.
transformed into Laura Lee. What the hell just happened here? All right, people, this is just weird. We're having a serious conversation. I've been transformed into Laura Lee. Laura Lee, I'm going to get your face off because I don't want you to be talking about this conversation because I'm sure this would not be something you would talk about. Let's what the hell happened here? Stop cam, no cam. Oh, there I am. All right. Oh, it did work. I was playing with the control E button and it actually turned it off. Okay, now I see what happened. So much of this would change this. I just that's why a good friend of mine the other day I did a lecture right after the abortion vote and he's like, how do you manage to stay in the middle and not make everybody hate you? I said because I look at it from a different point of view. I said I'm a guy, so I'm not going to have an abortion, but I might want that child. I said so that makes a different kind of issue altogether. I said, but in the end, I said a woman should always have the right, as long as it's not being used as birth control. I'm fine with abortions. It's just because there's lots of reasons for abortions to exist, but it's unfortunately for me, I know a couple of women that use them. One of them, she's now 37. She's had 6 altogether. Another lady I know who's 40 has had 5. I know 2 other women who's had 4 each. That's birth control. You're using abortion as birth. I have a fundamental problem with that. I just do. And the main reason I have a problem is we don't know who we're killing. It just have been the
Well,
guy that
that's
cured
right.
cancer,
That's
the
another
woman
thing.
that cured AIDS. I mean, of course, it could be the other way around. It could have been the person who's going to, come slit your throat in the middle of the night.
But I
But
also
that's
know
really the problem.
I also know people who were adopted at birth who have done amazing things
Yes.
and helped so many people
And
in this
then there's a
lifetime.
and then there's another real big problem with the United States. We're almost neutral now. So our death rate is about 1.55 a day. Our birth rate's about 175 a day.
Right.
So we're I mean, if it
We
changes
haven't
anymore, we're going to be
been
in trouble.
yeah, we haven't been we're almost to a point of no return as far as the
Yeah, it
human
is.
race.
And
And
with
that's including even countries like China,
yes,
who
what
people
yeah,
think
it's
are
because it's changing
overpopulated.
now a lot. And well, no, Jessica. Yes, that is true. 55 million is what the current estimation is. It went up quite a bit. The last time I had done a show on it, Stephanie and I had it around 26 million, but 55 million is what they're saying how many babies have been aborted in the United States. That's not worldwide. That's just in the U.S. since 1976. It's a lot. And if half of them were women and half of those women had children, that would have been another 20 million children plus coming along. That would have been almost another 100 million people in our society that we just eliminated for whatever reason. So it's not so much a concern of the actual abortion; it's a concern of the 100 million people we just eliminated that we don't know what the hell they were going to contribute to our society. Because you can bet your ass at least 1 or 2 of them were going to contribute something good.
Well,
So
not
it's a
only
tough thing.
that,
But
you
then I don't
start
want a kid living like crap either because the mom's forced to keep it and she's a or he's whoever.
but that might be part of that soul's karma.
It
And
might
if you
be
take that away, then that specific soul might have to wait another who knows
a
how
long time.
long
Yeah,
for another host to
and
come
that's
available.
true. So
And then you
it's
get into the family karma and that literally follows your DNA
yeah, well
of
that's
killing your own family member. Again,
well,
like the Wendigo and the
Well,
walkers.
a friend of mine the other day was giving me shit. He's like, well, you would have been dead at like 16 or 18 if it wouldn't have been for medical sciences. That's true. I said I wouldn't have been dead. I would have been deformed. I had something on my neck that was growing. It would have grown all the way eventually and covered my whole face. So I'd be dead now for sure. Unless either that, I'd have little slits and stuff cut in. It would be horrible. But regardless, and then I've had 4 or 5 near death experiences. I've been in the
That's
hospital 3 times where I had no idea I was in trouble and should have been dead and I wasn't. It's just so I just figure that's all part of the karma. I don't think that's you're cheating death. I think that's just part of all of it's part of it. But when you get into these other things we're talking about, I don't know if that's it. I think you're cheating there.
I think that's like yeah, that's playing fate technically. But I was gonna
Grand,
ask when
uh,
you said as far as like because this thought came to me as I was putting they have that like vitamin stuff that you put on cut flowers. So
Mhm.
here I am sprinkling this stuff that's supposed to keep it alive longer on this cut rose I had that my daughter gave me. And I'm like, is that kind of like do not resuscitate, or kind of like artificially resuscitating a person who's died, and we're just kind of keeping it, even though it's a cut flower,
Well,
we're just keeping it alive a little bit longer.
so this is what's weird about this. So at 40, 42, I had to get a stent in my heart. Now, according to the doctor, if I'd have went just 6 more months without, well, actually, it wasn't even 6 months because it was in July. He said I would have been dead by Halloween, which was 3 months away. He said there's no way you would have survived at that young of an age with that massive a heart. It would have just killed you dead. So the point being, and since then, it's been quite a few years since then, 12 years or something. And I've affected a lot of people's lives in that 12 years. So if I'm cheating karma, then not only did I cheat karma, but I screwed all these other people up along the line just because I cheated karma. But I wouldn't have been the one that cheated anyway. It would have been the doctor. So I really think it must be part of it because, one, it made me look at my life differently. It made
Yeah.
not just me look at my life differently. It made a lot of my friends who always looked at me as immortal think, "Oh shit, he's not actually immortal." And it even made my son look differently because he was like, "Dad, I never thought about you dying." It's like, well, you should always think about that somewhere along the line. But I've affected a lot of people, and the station alone's affected millions of people. Uh,
Yeah.
and if I wasn't meant to do that, then they shouldn't have saved me because God knows whose life I changed along the way,
I
for
was
good
gonna,
or
even
bad.
if you only affected one person, I told you that a long time ago, then that one person could go out and affect millions themselves as well.
But
It
I've taken
takes
it to a
one
new level.
acorn to seed an entire forest.
I take
So
14 to 20 live hosts every year and put them out there and let them talk. And then I take 40 or 50
that's true.
syndicated hosts and put them out there and
Crazy
just say,
people like myself
so,
too.
so, I'm affected a lot of people's karma and stuff, directly or indirectly. But first, I'm always going to be a big proponent of free speech. So, and that's why I'm suing YouTube yet again. Yes, they said that they gave us a nasty thing about monetization. I was like, really? I said, we're going to sue the crap out of y'all just for saying that. They're applying that all of our archives are evil. I was like, wow,
Evil.
just bad in general. I'll have to show it to you one of these afternoons.
Huh.
It's
Evil.
just when I sent it to the lawyer, he just started laughing. He said, "They really sent you this?" I said, "Here's the whole context. I'll give you the whole page." So I screenshotted in the page. He's like, "What are they? What, they got 12-year-olds running this place?" He said, "That's why you got money last time, Joe." He said, "These people are ignorant." He said, "I can't even believe they would even send you something like this." He said they should have used a different excuse than this. He said it was just retardism, but no. Oh, and the other one, Jessica. Well, there's the other problem. It's called the multiverse. So Joe exists 100 trillion times. Just this Joe right here exists 100 trillion times. Well, it's not exactly me. It's me in another universe.
He
But
gets around.
what happens when we all die? Do we snap back to one Joe with infinite knowledge? Because we've experienced. Remember, the Joe in the next universe over is experiencing things a little bit differently than I. He might be more famous. He might be less famous. He might not even be doing radio. He might have 10 kids, 10 wives. No telling. No harem. Might be gay. There's just no way of knowing. But the way it works is you're supposed to experience both everything on both sides of the spectrum, both good and bad. Um, and then all of that information is pulled back to one person at one time. So how do you go insane when that happens? Or do you go dark side? Do you go good side? I mean, you got to wonder. But if it is true, if we do exist in that many other universes, and we're all going to die eventually, and our souls are going to probably, instead of having 1 trillion Joes in heaven or hell, it'd be best just to have one. Because I mean, a trillion to me could be really fucking nightmare. Let's just be honest about it. Um, so I would imagine it would snap back to one being. I would imagine. So then,
So
what do you need reincarnation for? That's the point, though. If that's true, you don't need reincarnation because you've just experienced everything you possibly can, basically in one lifetime.
well,
Yeah, I know it's confusing.
I thought about this when I went on this investigation last year, and I picked up the guest book and just randomly flipped to a page. and there was a person that had signed it, that said, I downloaded this ghost app last night and tried and blah, blah, blah. I did the same thing. I had never used any type of tools investigating. This was like strictly because I'm a medium. I don't really need tools, but this was strictly experimental. But I had done that same thing that it said in the guest book the night before. And the person that signed its name was Trisha. And I'm like, well, that's ironic. And I flipped straight to that page, right? So I flipped the book again back like 2 years to another person named Trisha that said the same thing. And I'm like, so am I revisiting this place and just forget I'm actually doing it and do the same thing every time, which is insanity because I'm reliving the same things all the
It's
time
probably
over and
no. It's
over.
probably well. It could be
Or is
you.
it different me
It
visiting the
could.
same place
It could
and
be.
doing the same thing?
It could be a different you doing the same place,
Or is it a different
or
person altogether?
it could be some kind of other thing trying to tell you something because it's a bunch of. Wait, what did who said that? People, I'm not your father. I will cut you know what's off. Okay, do not screw with me. Hey, I will your ass is what will happen here. It's reason I got this out real short, quick. We're giving these away. I gave away Kylo Ren's last night, which is worth about $700. This one's going to be given away in a couple weeks. This is just an ordinary, nothing special lightsaber. Got the fighting blade on it, so you can whack people in the head with it and shit and hit other lightsabers. This one does not have audio. I do pretty well with the sound effects myself, though. It'll be given away. We're also going to be giving away Luke Skywalker's, two of Obi-Wan Kenobi's, one of Ray's, whatever her name is, and then another one. The one I'm keeping is Qui-Gon Jinn's. I'm keeping his. And there's a purple one coming. I might keep it too. But we're giving away all the way through Christmas. We're giving away tonight, just on this show, we'll give away some books before we end tonight. So we are giving away a buttload of books. And we're giving away not one book at a time, but three. Oh, yes. Yes. So it's the
I had
holidays, people.
suggested that he give those lightsabers as Christmas gifts to hosts.
Yes. And oh, yes. To host. You hear that crap. To give me so, that was funny because the guy who's sponsoring this, um, he asked me, do we have rules that I said no, station hosts can't and their families can't win. And he's like, really? I said, yeah. I said, in the old days we didn't care, but then it made some trouble, so we had to care. Because people are like, you're just playing favorites. I said, no, I'm not playing fucking careless. I wasn't even giving away on my shows because I didn't want to get in any trouble. And it's not. So this year, but a friend of the family can call in or write in. Most of the time it's write in right now. Because no. Something tonight that Trish and I are talking about, probably in the second hour. I'll ask you to tell us what it was. It'll be like the person number 25 that hits it at my iCourtCox.net. And the reason I'm saying it now is last night or Saturday when I was giving away the lightsaber, I didn't give anybody my address. So everybody was writing in, well, who the do we write? I'm like, what are you talking about? I just assumed everyone knew my email address. Shame on me. Poor babies. They were having heart attacks, but we gave away 12 books. We gave away we're giving away some copies of Fear too, for Halloween. So if y'all want to see the book Fear, I thought I had a copy right here somewhere, but I must have. Where the hell? Well, that's weird. I had a copy. Oh, here it is. You know what? We'll give away this one tonight. We'll give away 2 sets of books tonight. We'll give away Fear. Yes. They were reading inserts out of it Saturday. It sounds creepy as all hell. I have not read it, so I can't tell you. But we'll give away this in the second hour, and we'll give away. Hold on, let's put that over there. Since we're usurping Trish's show. And we'll give away these 3. This is Right into the Future. This is the winners for book 36, 37, 38. That's the last 3 years winners. There's 36 stories here and 36 great pieces of artwork in there. So actually, there's a few lanyard stories in there too. So I got about 300 of them all together, giving away. Some of them I'm going to drop off the local library, but we're giving those away too. So Make great Christmas presents, great reading presents. You like to read? There's lots of stuff to read in there. That's good stuff like that. Yes, and don't forget doing the week before Christmas and the week between Christmas and New Year's. We will be playing Battlefield Earth, which is 48-hour long audio show with 150,000 sound effects in it. It's crazy. It's actually quite interesting. It's quite good if you can make it all the way through. We pay 8 hours a day actually, and then on the end of both of those, we play the original War of the Worlds. And when I mean original, I mean the one that played the night that everybody freaked out. It's got all the commercials in it, all the commentary in it, the whole 9 yards. It's fabulous to listen to. And if you just turn off the lights and you sit and listen, you can understand why people were freaking the fuck out because it sounds like there's an alien invasion. And the old commercials are great too. I mean, it's just part of it. It's a fun thing. So just to let y'all homebodies know who may be home for the holidays. Some of y'all will be out partying like dogs. Some of y'all will be behaving. I will behave most of this year. I think I'll try anyway. What do you mean? Where am I going for Halloween? Somebody asked me that last night. I don't know. I'm probably going to stay home for Halloween. It's Monday night. It depends. It depends if we get. Hey, what's going on with the time? It depends if we get busy or not. Well, my son and I are putting in my floors in my house this week, so we got some customers coming in town. Got a couple customers want us to get started on some stuff, so it just depends. If we're working, I probably won't do anything. I'll probably stay home and might even come get on the radio and let everybody get drunk and have a good Halloween show. Yes. Well, we've had a couple of good Halloween shows. We have a couple of good New Year's shows. We have a couple of good shows over there. By the way, they're archived. If you can find them, they're up there. Nothing like a bunch of drunken hosts. Oh, you mean? Oh, yeah. A bunch of stoned hosts. Some of the hosts get stoned too. I mean, they might be stoned anyway, as far as I know. Just whatever turns that little worm, they're good to go. I'm not worrying about it. Yes, Jackie, there is no smoking of any kind on the network. I mean, it don't matter if you. No, it's not what I mean. You can be on the network and smoke. You just can't smoke on the camera. Guests can smoke on the camera, unfortunately. Yes, but our host can. Well, it just caused too much controversy, so we cut it out. Well, I don't smoke cigarettes now. I smoke cigars. Yeah, you thought I was going to say something else, didn't you, dumbass? I was going to say something else until you made that smart ass comment, but now I'm not. What do you mean? I don't do drugs. I am like angelic, like. Yes, angelic, like.
Right.
Yes. So a friend of mine wanted to argue with me in a bar about this one night. You're not angelic. I said, I didn't say I was angelic. I said, I'm angelic like. It's a different statement, my friend. He said, well, I said, I can angelic. I'm not angelic. He's like, what? He got drunk that night just to try to argue more with me. It's funny as hell. Nothing like sitting in pados talking about any weird stuff. If y'all get a chance, whether it's Halloween, Christmas, New Year's, or anytime you're in the Vout Carré or the French Quarter, you should stop off at Pat O'Brien's. They should be paying me for this ad. And go to the bar outside. They got a fire bar outside. You can sit outside, get whatever drink you can think of because they make anything you can think of. You can sit next to the fire bar, enjoy the beautiful night sky in the French Quarter, watch the people move around. If you're hungry, they got food. So, so it's a nice place to hang out. It's because the ambiance of the place, people tend to talk about weird stuff, especially if they're named Trish. Oh, yes. They actually have a drink.
Go to New Orleans. I have.
They actually have a drink there as tall as you. They got a hurricane. Well, it's taller. It's not as tall as you, but still, they got a hurricane there. It's so they bring this drink out. It's about this big around, and it's about 3.5 foot tall. And they set it on a table. And they put umpteen million straws out of it. And anybody in your party, it's fruit punch and basically like $1.90, and everybody just drinks it until it's gone.
That's like we call that trash can punch here.
I've watched many people pass out from this shit. And
I'm 5.5 feet tall. Thank you very much.
Patos throws some other weird flavors in there. I'm not sure what the hell they are. Now they got a drink down there called the 57 Chevy with stolen plates. It's a good drink. Stolen plates just means extra shot, but it's a good drink. It's pretty decent. The Southern Screw, which I personally invented, is a good drink. Not the Slow Gin Screw. That's different. The Southern Screw is, Slow Gin Screw is nasty.
I just took a picture of a 57 Chevy. today. I mean, maybe it probably had stolen plates. I don't know.
Oh, see, there you
For
go.
that matter.
It's oh no, people, any outcome. But you know what's nice too? Patos is haunted as all get out. That's hard to tell when the club is going because there's 6 bars in the place and 2 restaurants. So it's too much turmoil to really pay attention. And drinks flying or things getting knocked over are just they just say drunk people are doing them. But the staff will tell you when everybody's going, the place is all haunted, all get out. The fire will start and go off, come on by itself. Glasses will fall. From the counter will get put up. It's just weird shit. The one guy said he sat there and watched him putting hurricane glasses up for him one night. So he asked he said, well, Mr. Ghost, is there anything I can do for you? Something I could leave out here for you, And there's one place in there they leave a rag with a 50-cent piece on it, and something comes and gets the rag and cleans the bar and keeps the 50-cent piece.
Where'd your face? Your face left again.
I know. Laura Lee, you're cute, baby. But you're not as cute as me. What can I say? It's what the hell's going on here? I hit something. Oh, there I am. Okay. I think my hand hit the camera line when we were coming in. Whoever said that, New Orleans very haunted, but it's a little condensed now. Katrina kind of condensed everything. The whole city got the whole area, not just the city, got covered in salt water. Some places as deep as 10 feet. And a lot of it, and it stayed for several days. Actually, it stayed for a couple of weeks. So anything in those areas that were flooded, that were ghostified, either left, was destroyed, or pushed its way back to the city. Because the city is above sea level, it didn't flood. I mean, it flooded, but not like that. So, and a lot of people said that they feel that the hotels and the old quarters and stuff like that, the old apartment complexes, when I say complexes, it's like the whole street's like a duplex, and then they got beautiful patios in the back. But they say they're all haunted as all get out right now.
I sent that. So I sent you a map, and because I don't know how to send it from my phone to myself to display it, but you brought up a good point about the places in Katrina that's flooded and stuff. So that came out of a book one day that I had that I didn't know I had. And it was specifically about regarding the Georgia Guidestones, talking about the places that will be safe in the future and the places that won't be. And your area will not be safe.
No, my area will be under got umpteen feet of water.
Right. But the same with Florida, and I don't know if you can display that or not, but
where am I on this computer? Let's see.
The whole part of California, all the way to almost the Rockies. That's crazy. But obviously, all through the middle of the United States, Texas, upper Northeast.
Here's I'm trying to find it on one of the things. It came over my phone first. I'm trying to find it over here on one of the Instagram or Facebook pages. Invited you to encounters. Man, I'm a member of too many groups now. Jesus, people. I have lost track of how many groups I'm actually part of. Okay, let's see if we can do it like this. And then let's see if we can do it like this. Like this. And then like this. Then like that, not like that, like this. Is this the one I'm looking for? Nope, is this the one I'm looking for? Oh, wait, why didn't it come up? All right, thing, you're being aggravated now. Let's try that again. Obviously, I got the wrong thing. Let's see. All right, we're not giving Trish no more drugs, y'all. She's on something better than that. I'm not on enough is what the problem is. She's just on more. That's all it is.
No, I haven't taken my drugs today, actually.
I haven't taken my drugs yet. That's never a good sign. That's never good.
Maybe that's the problem, huh?
Okay, let's try this again. Stop camera. Present. Share the screen. Yes. There it is. Okay. No, I don't want to share the whole damn screen. There we go.
It's just all right. Picture.
There we go. Yeah, it was being aggravating for some reason.
I don't even know where I got that, but those places were in this book that are not going to be in the safe zone. So
y'all should, if you live in those areas, you should leave. See, my house is above the ground. So I'm not as much worried about as other
You're
people are.
in one of those
But
areas.
my, like I said, my house is raised though. It's above the ground. It's 20 feet above the ground. So these are see it's ground and stuff. My house is really, I'll just have to get to it. Not uncommon to live in the deep south and have to have a boat to get to your house. Most
Yeah,
people live in a
Oregon,
deep bayou and
California,
stuff. You have to
it's all gonna be gone.
look how big the Mississippi River gets. It's hold on, it's goofy. All right, let's do it this way. There we go. Yeah, look how wide the Mississippi River gets. I mean, it gets huge. I don't know where it's going to get all this water from since they say all the ice is going to be melted by then. So I'm not sure where it's
Well, I
coming
mean,
from.
you come down the middle there, like it doesn't show it there because it's further to the west. There's a major fault line between Kansas and Missouri, and that's
Yeah, well,
the
there's
river runs right through there.
yeah. Technically, the river is a fault line. Originally, it was a fault line.
But see, on that
It's
side,
moved
it
closer to
shows,
you.
yeah, on that map, it shows that it's on the eastern side of Missouri, whereas in real life, the Kansas and Missouri River run right, like almost right down
Yeah. So
the border.
when I originally learned about this way back in the dinosaur era, um, they said that the Mississippi River it was a fault that cracked and then it filled, but the fault line's been moving west ever since. It's just
Right.
headed towards you, and where it actually is now. I'm not have to go get a geological survey and look, but it's definitely further than the river is. It's past the river now. It's moving on. As the plates and go along, it just keeps moving away. What do you mean, Gene? No, I can live there. Look, no, the blue's just the bottom of the map. That's not. That don't mean you can't live. It's the purple you got to be worried about. No, the blue's the trace of the map, Goofus. No, no, it's not. That don't mean anything. Anyway, it's the purple you got to be worried about. And you see, well, it depends. See
I think
where the
the
blue.
blue's water.
Well, no, it's the edge of the map. See, look over here. You see right
Well,
here?
right.
That's just the edge of the water. That's all it is just the edge. The purple, see, there's no purple where I live. I live right there. Well, technically,
That's
that
all
was
gonna be
purple.
purple. What are you talking about?
Technically, I live right there. See that little dot right there? That's Bay St. Louis, and right there is my house. Yeah, people see. Yeah, people don't believe me when I tell them I almost live in the Gulf. That's my house right there, people. Right there. There's a little bayou right here, and then there's a Gulf of Mexico, and that's right where the hell I live. Yes, I know. I'm crazy. What can I say? I was here for Zeta when the hurricane ripped my roof off and had 8 foot of water under my house. It's weird. Mm. So Janine, where are you writing from, Janine? I seen you. Oh, okay, yeah, you did New York. I remember. So you want to believe in reincarnation? Well, that's fine. You can believe in reincarnation. Yeah, there ain't nothing wrong with that. You believe whatever you want, really. I say this all the time to people. Whatever makes you feel as snug as a bug in a rug is what you should believe.
It's only
Yeah.
people who did bad things like Joe that had to sit
Yes,
out, were in timeout
unfortunately.
for about 1,000 years.
Yes. I don't know what
So
I did last time. I was just bad to the bone, people.
that picture specifically,
200 wives, 1,800 children. I don't know. It was bad. What can I tell you?
I can only imagine, I swear.
Wait. Oh, okay. 10,000 grandchildren. I'm just reading what somebody's writing. 10,000 grandchildren. Jesus. How many great grandchildren? Like 100,000? No wonder I had to.
So the next picture I sent you goes back to, so this has been kind of something that I've had tons of people ask about, tons, not that picture specifically, but that picture I took on a day. So there's certain days, there's like portal days, where UFOs and such can travel easier, I guess, or I don't know, whatever happens with them. But that day specifically, went out to my vehicle in the morning, and there was a dead bat, right outside my door. So a
Blood
few things
sucking
come to mind.
biatch.
Right, few things come to mind. In the witches world, you're like, oh, well, that's not a good sign. But also, nothing had bothered it. No bats and things. Nothing had eaten this bat. It just literally was dead right in front of my door of my vehicle. And so the second thing that comes to mind is that there was some type of, bats use sonar to navigate and things like that. So that was the second thing that came to mind, that something like sonic or sonar related affected this bat to that killed it. And then I look up in the sky, right? And obviously I can see these things, but not everybody can see through all the cloaking things and such. There's like, why is it orange all of a sudden again behind my head? Do you see that?
It is orange behind your head. They're
Anyway,
coming for it,
so
people. If she disappears for a little while, you know
uh,
what happens.
because I'm not supposed to talk about that. So I'm like, how could I prove this? Because I can see it, but how can other people see this? So there's this app that's for blind people, correct? That will show you an object. Well, if you point your phone at anything, it will tell you what that object is, basically. So I use that because I'm like, okay, well, even a normal person would see that there's like a blur in the clouds and a gray spot that's not like the other parts of the clouds, right? Anybody could see that. That's not something special with me. That's like anybody could see that. So I point my phone at it and then it says boat. And I'm like, well, that's kind of the same as a ship, right? What's wrong with you?
I'm just listening.
Anyways, after that day, specifically after that day, that was on, I want to say September like 5th, 6th, maybe. I don't know. A week later, all hell broke loose in Kansas and most parts of the Midwest, actually. And when I say all hell broke loose, I mean we had a mass shooting threat in Oklahoma City, Topeka, Wichita, Kansas City. Um, it was like 5 different schools. And aside from that, there was a huge outbreak of crime everywhere. And you could even see on, people caught crime on their like little ring cameras. And you could actually see orbs and entities flying off from a person that was like stealing or beating someone up or whatever. So I know and I see the pattern in these things. And then, of course, during that time, there were like 90 UFO reports from here to Independence, Missouri, from Topeka to Independence within those few days. Animals were going crazy. Um, people were sending me videos that they had from here all the way up the Midwest, from Michigan, from Nebraska, all these different places. And so, and then, of course, everybody was reporting on police scanners and everything that, I live near few military bases, that the fighter jets were out, all these things. So, in your opinion, what is the relation between UFOs and an increase in crime and things and just like chaos in general in areas?
Maybe because they're picking up their people more often to make sure they're okay. It's well, no, it's true. It's ET is weird. Okay, I guess the easiest way to explain this is it's just like anything else in life. But so all contactees are sensitive. I mean, they're either empath or telepathic or more. So the problem is, and this is especially bad for me in my life. If I get in a bad mood, everybody around me tends to get in a bad mood. I don't even have to say a word. You would have thought I was being a, you know what, all day long, and I wasn't. But everybody around me gets mad, and then they even start getting mad at me after a while. It's really sucks. But the reason I'm bringing it up is if you have enough of them in any one area, and they're all feeling or picking each other up or sensing the same mood, they're going to translate that to everyone around them. So
Yeah.
it's going to take a sensitive a place that's already boiling over and make it worse. So we'll use Chicago as an example. Chicago's got a lot of people in it. So let's say 5% it should be 15%, but we'll say 10% of Chicago has empaths in it. And those empaths all live in areas close to places where not so good things happen. Not necessarily bad neighborhoods, but close enough that it affects them. They don't have to live even that close. It could just from watching TV, it could affect them. Let's say that they all generally start feeling this way, and then after a while, maybe a day, 2 days, a week or so, that manifests into everyone else around them feeling it, which of course manifests anybody who's already got issues or criminal tendencies. It probably just set them off, and not just set them off, but it probably set them off in a more violent way. So, and this is an indirect from an extraterrestrial. This is indirect from the contact. This really isn't anything ET's doing. It's just these people are very telepathic and very empathic, and empaths have a tendency to transmit. And when you have enough of them transmitting in an area, but they can do the same thing. So if you could get them enough on television or wherever to make them feel good and warm and fuzzy, it would do that for the neighborhoods. It would do that for the whole area. But the problem
But
is our news doesn't allow for that. Our television watching doesn't allow that. Or even our radio listen, our internet watching really doesn't allow for that fun, cozy feeling. It's always just bam, bam, what's next, what's next, what's next. I mean, it's like the abortion topic. So everybody thought it was going to really carry the election over. Now they found that it's not because it was weeks ago. The news cycle is just too fast. It's too much. It was a big deal and it still is, but the cycle is so big and so intense and there's so much other stuff being poured into it that gets pushed further and further and further and further back. And as it gets pushed further back, less and less people are thinking about it, and it becomes less of an issue for an election. While other things like the economy is going to shit. So but if you could find these empaths and just get them in a generally sense of happy mood, it would change an area for sure. One empath in a room full of people can change the whole room. So
right.
if you've got 100 or 1,000 or 10,000 of them in a few mile square area, they can change the whole neighborhood. But they're not, which means there's never enough feelings good together at one time that it happens. But there seems to be a activity that happens. I don't know. You figure it out. It's kind of strange.
I mean, in Kansas, there's like 200 miles between towns, and in a lot of the U.S. I mean, we don't even have people in half the state.
Yeah,
Which
well,
is
it was like Wyoming.
probably good because
I was laughing when I was going through Wyoming. I was driving on this interstate, and all I was seeing was caribou and cows and deer and a few people here and there.
yeah.
And 500,000 people in a huge state. I mean, the state is huge. I'm thinking, man, in the old days, you must have walked 100 miles, never seen anybody, probably 1,000 miles, never seen anybody. It's freaky weird. And thank you. Yes. 3 people in Chicago. So that would mean 300,000 of them would probably have been or have been taken. So at least that many of them are impasse. Yeah, so that would make a big difference. 300,000 impasse thinking the same thing. It would make a big difference.
I don't
And
watch the
eventually it might.
news specifically. I don't watch the news, and I'm very rarely paying attention to social media because I know how important it is to control your emotion, things like
By the way, I love this sex workers across the galaxy picture. This shit is just freaking hilarious.
that's actually is that the star the
Yeah,
book?
let me show everybody.
That's by I had him on my show, the author of that, Brad Goss. Yes, that's one of his newest books, actually. I have not read it.
This has got to
But
be
I'm sure
hilarious.
you can find him. Yeah, you can find him. And he has little jingles to all of his books, little songs too.
Well, there y'all go, people. See,
on TikTok, yeah.
he's addressing the sex workers across the galaxy for everybody. It's just fair, like it should be. They need a voice too. I'm sure they don't have a voice.
Yeah,
This
because
chick
I
over here,
asked him when he was on my show if he had any extraterrestrial books out. He said not yet, and so this was.
I already had a thing for Leela. Now we got a green-headed one. So that's I don't know what to tell you. And I got a tail. I don't know what to tell y'all, man. It's too much. I better. Oh, that's just too much. I better turn that off. There might be some children watching or something. We can't have that. She too bad she had to get on damn air. I'm just teasing. Well, you can find the book for yourselves. We were just talking about it, so it just happened to be. When she sends me pictures, they stay in the file. So when I cruise through them, I can see them. like whoever this redheaded chick with the green eyes is. I'm like, oh hey baby, what you doing? It's it's in one of her shows she had. I think it was like June of last year or something.
Oh, that
Uh,
was yeah, we her and I, she's amazing. She that was Rachel Kleinsmith. She's of the Vampire Clan. She lives in Hollywood now, but she came through. We actually met at a full moon in the near the mausoleums here in Topeka one time. So, um yeah, that we do things like that.
I'm not even going there. I'm just gonna leave that alone. We do things like that. I'm just not even gonna touch
No,
that.
because I can hear comments now like, "Oh my god, here's two witches and one's of the No, I know. Typical, of course we would meet on a full moon at a mausoleum in a cemetery. Like why would I can already hear it. Like
I know. It's Jessica Hahn. Really, that's got to be a screen name. You're not the one who really cut the guy's wee wee off, right? I'm just, I just didn't name. Well, you never know what Trish and I are going to talk about. We've just been chatting tonight. We talk about all kind of shit.
yeah,
Well,
we
actually, some of the better conversations you missed when she used to host for Chasing Prophecy, we would talk after the show. That's why she's a host on the network. Yes. What? Just ask a question. You know, you can go to, yeah, UFO Paranormal is open, so you can go in and pop out the chat room if you want to. And do I have the comments open? Yeah, I have it open. What do you mean? God doesn't allow for reincarnation. Okay, that's a see. That's what we were talking about earlier. That's a personal belief thing. Well, I don't know. I haven't met God personally in this lifetime, so I can't say, well, God, do you allow for reincarnation? He or she or it might take a dim view of that kind of crap. Well, what do you mean you don't know that, Joe? Well, I don't want to be doing that.
no,
Well,
no.
because I don't know who God is. Okay, I was raised thinking God was Guy. You
Joe's gonna
know,
get
there's no
struck by
real.
lightning.
I know.
Easy, easy there.
Oh, all right. Are we behaving us? You know, I'm beginning to wonder if this computer's like trying to get itself on the wireless sometimes. Because every now and then I see a wireless thing come up. I'm thinking, what the hell? You're not wireless. You're a hardwired computer. We'll have to check in that tomorrow. Aliens are pregnant. I'm sure they can get pregnant. I mean, what are some of these comments coming tonight? Y'all are in drugs. Um, oh,
Oh,
you good? Good. I was going to answer them. Good.
no, go ahead.
To Glinda, is that you like Glinda the bad witch, Glinda the good witch, Glinda the bitch? Okay, that works for me. I'm whatever, whatever. No, actually, I've always considered the Isle of the British Isle as a control study for the aliens because for some reason, most of our cases there are what I call alien abduction 101. And most of the people from those cases are still angry. Whereas in other countries, people start out angry but tend to move to a different, the ones that stay with the aliens tend to move to a different feeling. They're not, after, usually after the early 30s, they're not angry anymore.
Yeah, I
But
started out angry.
yeah, and in
Probably.
England, and still there is some still anger there, but in England, it's like those stories you used to hear in the '60s and '70s. It still happens like that, and I think ET uses them as a control group against everybody else because it's still abduction 101 there, whereas the rest of the world seems to have moved on.
I don't know. I think it has a lot to do with religion too, because when I was more religious, I was very angry at being abducted. Um,
You should be. You should be now when you know they're taking your damn kids. It's
well,
see
no,
that's the thing
because
because people get so pissed, and you should be pissed, people. They just took
but
your kids and did whatever they wanted to, and then
no,
brought them back and said,
I
"Well,
get
screw you, bitch."
more irritated about like the mill abductions because
Well,
that's other
yeah,
humans
that
doing it, and that pisses me off a lot. But as far as aliens, I'm like, okay, I explain this to people. I'm like, it's like the circle of life. You watch The Lion King, like they're all living in their own little biosphere there, technically. They know the lion can eat them and probably will at the end of the day. But it's like in Kansas, with farmers and stuff. Can't it the same with aliens, right? Like if I'm raising a cow I want that cow to have a good life. I want to raise it humanely. I want it to be out in the pasture and be taken care of and fed well and all of that. I don't agree with big slaughterhouses and things like. I want my cow to be raised humanely, but at the end of the day, it's going to be eaten.
Mm-hmm.
It knows that, I know that, everybody knows that. At the same time, I don't want the neighbor down the road abusing my cow. So I'm not going to let that happen because it's my cow. I want it to have a good life. And I kind of view aliens as that way. Like when something else started abusing me as being like abducting me, I think something else came in and was like, "Hey, that's our cow. Like Trisha's our cow. We want her to have a good life." I mean, essentially, yes, I'm going to be eaten at the end of the day, but for the time being, um, you know,
Well, I'm very high in cholesterol, so the aliens don't want to eat my ass. They
I have a lot of tattoos, so they'll probably poison themselves. So
no, that's a good kind of eat. That is, yeah. No, Christopher. We'll talk about that another day. A good friend of mine gave me it because he always expressed me. So he needed to he needed to get that tattoo. I said, dude, I can't. My personality changes too much. I said, I'm just not like a normal person. I realized that when I was 19, because I was going to go get some tattoos. I was in the Navy. I was going to get two, one on each chest, and I really liked them. And I got drunk, and then I realized that I didn't like them. Or actually, I got drunk and I realized I wasn't going to like them when I was 30. And what was funny was when I hit 30, I was glad I didn't get them because I wasn't going to like them. It was just, it's my personality changed too much. So recently I had gotten one, and it's funny. At this age, it doesn't really matter what I get because I got 20 or 30 years left on the damn planet anyway. So it's, but it's strange how many people just automatically draw a negative connotation to them. So it's different for me because my dad was a merchant marine, so he had tattoos on his arms. Over the years, different employees and friends of mine have had tattoos, so I never really looked at them as anything other than what they are. I never really looked at them unless they were like a piece of artwork, or if it was something stupid like let me put Jessica's name, Donna's name, Ginny's name down the list on my arm. Any of my friends that did, I instantly gave shit to them about. I'm like, hey, what are you going to do with that? What are you going to get a list all the way down to your elbow? What the hell is going on here? I said, think about it. But some of them, like my ex business partner Sam, he got a snake on he's got a cobra on his belly, which is hilariously funny. So it just, but you have to be something. It's got to be something that you want, and it's something that you're going to feel comfortable with 20 years after you get the damn thing. You seem to be very comfortable, so it's different for you. And some people aren't, some people aren't. I never understand why it's easier on some, harder on
well,
others. So,
I
I think that weirds me out a little bit.
I think mine. See, I was shown a lot going all the way back to like Egyptian times. Only royalty was permitted to have tattoos. And the same in a lot of cultures with even like a lot of native tribes. Only the healers or the shamans, things like that, were permitted to have tattoos. But I realized that with every single one of mine, they helped me remember something, either about a previous life or about this life. Um, and having an immune suppressant disease, tattoos have been proven to actually increase your immune system response. For one, scientifically, they've been proven to do that, but also act as like acupuncture, kind of. So almost have a healing effect. Not to mention, a lot of mine have to do with different, like, I don't know. I allow my tattoo artists to use their own to put what a lot of times to do whatever they want, and that ends up being almost a prophecy in itself. Some of them have ended up being like star systems, entire solar systems. And so essentially a lot of mine have ended up being something that led to something I needed to know in this life. So it's like a map that I only know that I'm the only one that knows the
Well,
key
no,
to, I guess.
as long as you're comfortable and it works for you, that's all that really matters. It's what do you mean, Jessica? Well, no,
Also,
tattoos can mean things, and they can not mean things. They can just be artwork. They can be anything that the person wants them to be.
I'm a
Yes.
medium too, so I do have protective runes and such, which absolutely work. Whether people
Uh,
believe that or not, start talking to a few demons and you might.
Mike, no, we're not giving away no lightsabers tonight. No. I thought about one. I have one, but it hasn't come in yet. If it would have came, no, I'm not giving away the silver one. It's actually going. It's on a particular night. It's already been scheduled to go somewhere. No, it hasn't been won yet. It's just been scheduled to go somewhere. You can go directly to the company and buy directly from them if you want to. Now, remember, there's a couple of companies that sell lightsabers, and so with this company, one just a normal lightsaber with no sounds runs about $120. If you want the fighting thing, about $130. If you want one with a nice hilt that's pretty fancy, the sound will run you about $250. If you want stars, design right 1 stars, they start at 15. Yes. Well, you want something. You want it to look like Obi-Wan or somebody along the line of Qui-Gon or I can't remember the other guy's name that had the purple one. A lot of people want the purple one. A lot of people want the yellow one, the gold one. Yeah, it's whatever you want. And they all have, but just make sure it's a reputable company because they are expensive. And so you want to get something that you like, something you want to use, and something you can whack your neighbor in the head with. I ambush my stepdaughter with them all the time. She had to go out and buy her mini one just so she could defend herself. Yes, that's just how it works around this house. She comes in. The other day I had the dogs outside. Her dogs growling and snarling. She come out the chicken. I was like, die, bitch! That's your father. Yes, people. I'm strange. What can I say? Um. Well, one of these days we'll get Trish in the city and scare the bejesus out of her. We'll take her out to the swamp, scare the bejesus out of it. So I got a friend.
You think I scare that easily?
Oh no, but I got a friend of mine come
Oh
from
man, y'all would probably be scared of me. Actually, that's
uh,
typically what happens.
one of my friends who she's never scared of anything. She flies in from France. We bring her down, so she's having a blast. I took her to this place out in Honey Island. She said, you can never come in here again, right? Ever. I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, she was not nice about it either. She was like, you just because what it is more than it is anything else. The place is naturally scary because of where it's at. And if you're not familiar with the area and you're sitting there, first off, you're under really pretty sky, it's starlit sky, but you're in the middle of a swamp. You're 12 miles back in this swamp. You're actually on NASA territory, which makes it even worse. So you done snuck into a NASA military facility and you're 12 miles in the swamp.
I'd be
You can
like,
actually
"Well, Thelma, I guess we're going over."
so you can actually hear machinery and stuff going on. You'll see weird shit flying through the skies and stuff. It's really crazy back there. But then occasionally, you'll hear an alligator start growling, or a massive group of like 100 hogs comes walking by, is snorkeling, making all kind of shit. We've actually seen fawns drop back there. We've actually seen some really cool stuff. We also seen some really scary stuff. Or we stand in the trail. Everybody with us will start seeing them. It's crazy. I don't. I don't.
I lived in southern Georgia though before. You know that, Joe. Like
Yes.
I
Well,
lived
that's
in the
good. I
dirty
don't. I
South.
don't. I don't think. For me, I don't find it as necessarily scary as I do. It's just different. It can be scary, and if you're even a moderate scary person, it's going to scare you. Excuse me, ladies and gentlemen, to meet Leon in the ears, but it's a great place. There's lots of things to see, and even if you don't see aliens or ships or weird stuff, you're going to see something cool no matter what. But generally, like we, so put this in context. A couple of times this has happened to us. So I'm out there just right after Katrina, about a year after Katrina. A friend of mine, Mike, he's a Canadian. He's down from Canada helping us work. I had a couple of guys with me. A friend of mine, Jason from Texas, was down working. But I had brought in a bunch of people from from a couple of countries to work after Katrina. So it was late one night, and the three of us decided we were going to go get some breakfast at Waffle House in Slidell because there was nothing open in New Orleans. Actually, it was a little fun Slidell. So we went and get breakfast. And Jason's like, we ain't never been at the Honey Island. Which we got to Honey Island. I said, sure, we'll go to Honey Island. So we get out in Honey Island, and we're sitting back there in this circle, great witches circle, by the way. You'd love this.
Is it Honey Island?
Honey Island, just like
Honey
honey,
Island.
like yeah. So it's not Horny Island, people. It's Honey Island. Okay, just say ahead of time. It's so anyway. You're back there. We're sitting there, And I hear Mike saying, "What the hell's that noise?" He kept going, "What the hell's that noise?" And look up, and you see what appears to be a TR-3B black triangle coming along. It's making this weird whizzing sound, like it was pushing against something. Or, I don't know, it's hard to explain. It wasn't really louder. It was just like it's whiz kind of sound going on. Right behind it, not more than, I don't know, 1,000 yards, 1,500 yards behind, in formation behind it, was what looked to be an F-16. And we were sitting there going, "What the hell is that?" And then the F-16 dropped off, and the damn saucer dropped right in between them, just and sat there. All of us seen it. We were all watching it. Then we all think, "Nah, well, we're not going to talk about this. Everybody thinks we're going to crazy bunch of wackos." So we watched this go on for, I don't know, about 45 minutes. We decided we could leave. We got to work in the morning. We got crews running all over the place. I had freaking 10 job sites going, so we got to go home. So we leave. We get in the car. We're driving, and we're headed towards Covington because we wanted to go across the causeway, the 24-mile bridge. So Jason said, where the hell are we? I'm like, "I don't know. We should have been at Covington like 20 minutes ago." So I look down, and I'm like, "Where the hell?" So we turn around. So we blew the exit by 50 miles, which is, since I used to live there, it's kind of weird to start off with. So then we get back to the bridge. We're getting ready to get on the bridge. And Jason says, "Is that the sun?" It was 6:30 in the morning. We just lost 5 hours. And just poof. Still to this day, no one wanted to be hypnotized. And still to this day, we don't know what the hell happened. Um, it was strange. The whole night was very weird. What do you mean, Kara? Because nobody wanted to be hypnotized, which generally means it wasn't a pleasant experience.
How many so I've thought about that. If other people, like, there's quite a few times of my experiences that I remembered parts of, but not all of, but I definitely did not want to be hypnotized to remember them. Do you have a lot of those?
Yeah, we do, because you know deep down that it wasn't something you want to remember.
Yeah.
One thing you can count on, whether it's military or government, generally when they wipe your brain completely, it's because they did something that you don't want to remember. Now, it
Yeah.
doesn't happen as much over, say, age 33 or 34, but it does happen. And in this case, I think this was a military abduction. Actually, it was probably alien pickup with a military abduction and then a handoff, which dropped us off wherever. Because the other odd thing is this is from Honey Island, taking the way we went to my house and then overriding it by 50 miles. I should have burned a half a tank of gas. And I was driving an F-150. It was still full when we got to the bridge. Now, that's an impossibility. Even at my best, I could have been doing 25 miles an hour. I still would have burned a three-quarters, I mean, 1/3 of a tank of gas. But driving the way I do, it's a half a tank easy. I mean, I've driven it many times, so I knew what it was. And so that was odd. There was some other odd things. There was weird marks on us. None of us slept well for about a week. Everybody was having these horrible freaking nightmares. And but it really felt like it was more like the aliens picked us up for the government and then put us back. And we know about handoff experiences. I know Travis Walton was. There's been several of them. Barney and Betty Hill were.
Most of the ones that were like the I guess they call it hybridization. Any of the times that I had like children taken were handoff type
Yeah,
situation.
for
But
some
the odd
for
thing
some
about those, like, I dreamt about them before they happen, which always makes me think that I'm reliving everything again because I don't believe people are psychic. I mean, I believe in psychics, don't get me wrong, but I believe we've either already lived those things or somebody is showing us that those things.
it's well, what the? I'm sorry, that was weird. It's and it could be. There's no way to really know. Um, it definitely could be though.
But it's only the bad ones that I have dreams about before they happen, which is
And
interesting.
those could be well, and those could be not so much. Well, for you, it could be before it happened, but for them, it's probably already happened.
True.
So we know the aliens can take us out of time. We know that because we have people come back with 2 and 3 weeks worth of hair growth. We have people, sometimes it seems like they've been gone for 2 or 3 years because the amount of information they have. And the way we look at it, we look at 2 hours information per day is how we calculate it. We used to look for more, but we realized a lot of the information is not going to be brought back with them. It's going to be stored on board the ships. A lot of stuff. So we figure for every 2 hours of retainable memory you have is one day. And to be honest, it's hard to find people in about 20 hours. So Jim Sparks very famous contact, and out of everybody who's come forward, he's got more abductions per credit than anybody in the field, anybody that's ever spoke. So on the air one night, I asked him. I said, "Well, tell me in hours," because he's talking about being taken a couple times a month, which is not uncommon for abductees in their 20s to be
Yeah.
taken 1, 2, 3 times a week. It's not that uncommon. So I asked him. I said, "Well, how many?" I said, like here, you said you were going for 3 weeks. So I said, how many hours is that? It's like what, 400 hours, 500 hours? I said, how much of that do you actually remember? I said, how much I said, if we sat here and talked, how many hours do you think it would add up to? And he was stunned when he told me he didn't think it would be more than 4 or 5 hours. He was stunned. I already knew what the answer was going to be, but he was like, you got to be shitting me. Huh? I was like, yeah. I said, because a lot of the stuff they're not going to let you remember anyway. And some of that time you're not actually active. Some of the time you're in storage, for a lack of a better way of saying it.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're on the big ships, they let you roam around and get involved in stuff and learn other stuff. So you'll have different kinds of memory. And that's another way when this has happened, like at a military base or on board one of the small ships versus the big ships. Generally, when they take you to the big ship, you get downtime. You get to talk with other aliens, other humans. There's rec rooms, there's places to eat, there's your own room. You have your own room. There's activities, there's interactions with the holodecks, training sessions. That's all stuff that you remember, and you remember in a different context. But a lot of times when it's just a hard abduction, you don't really remember that for whatever reason they were using you. And sometimes when they use you, like use your abilities, they don't allow you to always remember that either. And those are also hard abductions.
Yeah.
Those, there won't be more than an hour or two of memory, and it'll be very selective memory. Whereas the ones when you're on board the ships where they're taking you and doing general consultations or general training sessions or whatever it may be, you remember a lot of that. You can't remember it all because a lot of it's stored on board the living computers on the ships, because you have access anytime you're there. And of course, our brains aren't big enough to house it all. But it's those times when they take you and you're forced to even remember 5 or 10 minutes of it. There's some shit went on there that you don't want to remember. And it's not always, ladies and gentlemen, that they did something to you. Sometimes you're doing something to someone else.
Yeah.
And we don't want to remember. I don't want to remember hurting people. Do you remember hurting people? No, I don't want to remember that. And and sometimes it's for training sessions for other things that the government may be viewing. Because unfortunately for the government, and one of the reasons they're so open right now, which I'll be talking more about on Wednesday, is the fact you can come join me. By the way, Trish, it's just an open conversation. Is oh hell, I forgot what I was going to say now. Damn it! I need a sip. I need some alcohol. Is what I need.
I think I know for a fact I've had a lot of hard abductions for my abilities, because I do remember bits and pieces every time. And one of the main things, so a lot of times people think that abductions cause, nosebleeds or their ears to bleed or eyes to bleed or whatever. That's not necessarily, in my experience, what causes those. What causes a psychic to have nosebleeds, or somebody with telekinetic or any type of gifts like that, is that they're used extreme overload, and my nose or my ears or something will start bleeding. See those glitches? Yeah.
Yeah, because this is stuff they don't want us talking about. This is
Exactly.
the last 5 minutes of conversation is not even something they want us over the air with.
Yeah.
It's but we'll just keep going through it. But it is no one's even ever brought up some of this topic stuff we just talked about, like the nosebleeds or the heart abduction. That's not even stuff that's really talked about in the field any, because
Because
most
I
people don't even
know,
know
like, if
about it.
in my normal life, if I'm working on a cold case or a missing persons case, or I'm trying to remote view, which I don't ever do on a normal basis in my life, unless it's for something like that. If a child's missing or something, then I will try to help and do things like that. And if I do it to an extent to, like, mental exhaustion, my nose will start bleeding. Or if it has something to do with my kids, my like an ear will start bleeding or something like that. Well, in abductions, and since I was very little, on the ones that I would only remember bits and pieces of, and I know it was because I was being used to do something for whomever, for even if it's like remote viewing for another country or whatever they use remote viewers for, I would wake up and like blood all over my pillow, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And my nose would bleed for a few days too. And it's literally, I also think with things like Alzheimer's, muscular sclerosis, Lyme disease, that has the people who develop the white lesions on their brain. That's often, you know, regardless of what science says, because I've healed myself of white lesions before, but I think that's also from overexerting, um, like your mental powers and stuff as well.
Well, it is. It's
And then having your mind erased too many times.
well, yeah, that doesn't help because I mean it's messing with the vessels. But when you start to use your abilities, especially if you started using them later in life, it's much easier to get nosebleeds in different places. You can bust blood vessels. You can actually get a damn aneurysm if you're not careful.
Yeah.
Because when how can I put this? So when a person recognizes that they have an ability, and not that it was just an accident or a fluke, they recognize, they start trying to use it, and sometimes they try to push really hard. Well, if you push really hard in the wrong
Yeah.
way, you're going to start having all kind of issues, and you can kill yourself. So you got to be careful with this. We tell people all the time to find a mentor and work with somebody who, has decent abilities that can help you get through this. Something that you can learn how to push or not to get so crazy, take it a little at a time. Like, so your empathy, if you have a spouse, they're good to practice on. So you can push here, you can or because some people are a better receiver than they are a transmitter. Some are both, but some are
Ooh,
better
I hate
transmitters than
working with
receivers.
with with baby. What would you call them? Baby. Um, Not baby. I guess just new. Um, what do you call somebody who just realized they have these powers? Because it, they can hurt people, and I don't like
Mhm.
working with. I don't like working with them.
Well, because they can, because they don't
Like
realize.
fry
Again,
your
some people are much
brain.
stronger, and well, some people are much stronger than other people. But I'll find a mentor, finding someone who has good empathy abilities. More than that, a good empath can use their abilities to help calm you, help excite you, things like that.
Oh, right.
And if you can, I'll tell you a little secret. If you can find a spouse that's an empath, you'll never leave them. You might hate them a few times, but you'll never leave them. And there's reasons why. But I'm talking about a good one. You both have to be around the same abilities. Well, there's lots of advantages to it. There's disadvantages because a lot of times they'll know what you're thinking, or they'll answer questions before they're asked, which still aggravates me even to this day. Uh,
You
but
might accidentally kill each other.
you could do that. But when you sense the sense of love or compassion, the sense, because it's kind of like two cars speeding towards each other. Instead of 50-55, it's a 110-mile collision. What's the same thing with impasse? When they finally do connect at those kind of levels, it's you can sense each other, you can feel each other, so you can feel what your partner is feeling plus what you're feeling. It's I don't even know how to put it into words. It's a sensation that's far beyond sex or any drugs or anything along those. It's once the two. It's almost like a merger of souls in a way. It's a merger of feelings for sure. Um, it can be overwhelming, and
I
and
was gonna
the
say, I
bad
think.
side to it. Okay.
Oh, I was gonna say, I think that sometimes if you have two that are extremely powerful like that, they can't always be around each other.
No, they can't. They'll get on each other's nerves.
Yeah,
But
I
you have to
mean,
remember too when you experience something with an empath, and it's overwhelming a lot of times. People fall deeply in love. You have to watch because it may not be love. It's just simple sharing of feelings, and sometimes people take that for more than what it is. It's hard, people. It takes a lot of effort. You really got to know. Once you understand that you're empathic, you have to actually pay attention to what you're thinking, because you can walk into a room pissed off and everybody in the room all of a sudden is pissed off. Or you
Mhm.
can walk in a room laughing at some stupid TikTok joke and you look around and everybody's laughing. And you're like, what are y'all laughing about? Well, what are you laughing about? Well, I'm laughing about a TikTok joke. Well, I don't know what I'm laughing about. It's you see that a lot. And remember, if people tell you all the time that everybody is latent telepathic, call them a liar, call them out. Go get a deck of cards. Go get just two cards, or get a coin for that matter. But get two cards, two colored cards, two numbered cards, whatever, and just test everybody that comes in. We used to do it at the malls. We'd just go set up in the malls, and everybody we could. You'd be a couple hundred people a day. Just, hey, I'm broadcasting to you. And we'd have 4 or 5 people there who were empaths, so that they would all be broadcasting, so the person always had a chance, a fair chance of getting it. Man, people didn't even get it right 50-50. The overall majority of people, 80% or more, didn't get any right. Um, it was sad. And then when you would hit an empath or a telepath, they would get them right almost every time. That's the difference. So, I was like everybody else when I was young. I believed that everybody had a latent ability. Everybody could develop telepathic abilities, but now that I've tested it, no, it's not true. And I challenge people. I said, just test it. You know, my word for it. Test it yourself. You're gonna be sadly shocking to find out how few people have these abilities. And if you find people who do it, make friends with them. Keep in contact with them, because they're going to sense and know things far ahead of anybody else.
But you know what I realized I started doing from a very young age, because I didn't want to be different than everyone else. So even with like music and stuff, I was very talented. I was very musically inclined, and just explaining something like that. Like at my first recital, everybody, I was probably like 6 or 7 playing the piano. I knew all the notes. I didn't make one mistake when I practiced at home ever. And I get up there on stage and I purposely made numerous mistakes because I didn't want to stand out. So throughout my life, and I didn't want to be better than everybody else. I didn't want to be different. And so throughout my life, I got into the habit of doing that. So then it affected my intuition and my abilities, because every time I would have an intuition, or an emotion or something, I would do the opposite. And I got into the habit of doing that because I didn't want to stand out. And I think a lot of people actually now in
A lot of
hindsight do
people
that
do. A
because
lot
of
of people do.
anxiety.
They don't want to stand out because they're going to be
Yeah.
picked on or hated on or made fun of or something along those lines, which is true for a lot of people. And they do. A lot of people do get hated on. If it was funny because I grew up in a house full of empaths. It was always such and such as a call, and they knew who was at the door. They always knew who at the phone. My freaking
Hmm.
mom always knew where I was, which sucked. Um,
Yep. I tell my kids that. I'm like,
See,
you
today,
can't get away
today I
with
would have thought
anything.
today I would have thought she had a GPS on my phone or something, but no, she always knew where I was. She always knew what I was up to.
Men,
She,
I still have that same problem to this day, dating and stuff. Initially, because they don't believe in psychics, they don't believe in this, that, whatever, and they automatically think I'm stalking them. They automatically think this, think that. No, no, I don't need, like, I don't even have time to go through people's social media or put a tracker on their phone bullshit. No, like I already know.
yeah, it's unfortunate, because a lot of times somebody will be saying something, I'll be like, yeah, and I'll be finishing their sentence, and they get all upset. And I'm like, whatever. Um, and then from time to time, I see just a lot of information about it. I don't even know why either. Some people, it's weird. I just get a buttload of information at one time. It just like comes pouring in from somewhere. Um, and I can't. Somebody said, "Is it a download?" I said, "No." I said, "Is it visual?" I said, "No." Is it audio? I said, "No." Is it spoken? I said, "No." So that's just there. And I said, "I
Mhm.
wish I could tell you how it got there or where it came from." I said, "Because I'd go looking for it." I said, "But it's just there. I'll just meet a person. It's like it was pre-programmed in my head for when I meet that person to tell them that."
That's how it is for me too. It's like when your computer automatically updates overnight, and you don't even know it, and all of a sudden there's a new program there or something.
I know it's Well, Christopher, downloads, I know I said it earlier, but downloads are just things that aliens give you from time to time. They're information based, and they don't always open at one time. So you'll get a download. You'll know you got something because there'll be something instantly, but it takes a little while, a couple of years sometimes, for them to completely open and unfold. It's like a virus almost unfolding in your head, and it's just slowly opening up, and you'll know. So, and then it's one of the reasons contactees have a much higher education level than they. So if you talk to a contactee, and I'm not talking abductee, I'm talking full blown contactee, somebody's a keeper, or a communicator, something along those lines, you're going to find out that their education is higher than their formal education. So if they were a high school dropout, their education could be much higher than that of a college person at least. If they say they got a bachelor's, it's going to be much higher than that, more like a PhD. If it's a PhD, it's weird, but they're taught so much on board the ships, and they learn so much abstract stuff that it brings their intelligence much higher than it would have been if just as a normal life of living and going to school. It's very strange. Well, it's more than that. I remember the very first time I was talking to a physicist. This is God, 25 years ago. I was talking to a physicist, and I was quoting a universe in a nutshell. That's Stephen Hawking's book, by the way. I was quoting directly out of the book, and I was quoting page for page, word for word. And the guy who I was talking to looked up the book and got it out and started. He said, "Man, what are you reading from the book?" I said, "I've actually never read the book, ever.
Yeah.
Still to this day, I've never read the book, and I can still quote you segments out of the book." It's a very strange thing. It's a weird phenomenon, whatever you want to call it. The whole entire book's in my head. It's not just that there's other ones besides that. There's other stuff besides that. It's not always books. It's just information there for whatever reason. And the very first time I realized I had some of this physics information, I was like, why the hell would I need this? And of course, in today's society, and what I do now in the last 20 years, it's actually come in very handy, especially after I got my bachelor's. It was just a lot, it just helped me out in a lot of ways. It's the
Sometimes it comes
information
from
is there.
nowhere too. Like
It does.
I
It
don't
is
even know.
nowhere.
I
It's
I've been interviewed by scientists and astrophysicists and stuff, and they'll be talking about something, and I'll just start randomly spouting off something about quantum physics in another solar system, and I don't know where I know. Like I've never studied that before. I don't know where it came from. I
but
don't even
that
know
but
how I
that's how
sounded
it
so
works with
smart
with
in that last.
abductees and contactees. It comes out. It comes out in the information. It's just there. For
Just
whatever
natural, like
reason, well, it's
just
probably
spit it out.
something they have something to do with something that was going on board the ship, something you was involved with, but the information is there, or it's something that they know you were going to need here for some reason. I don't really think per se they can see the future, but they can predict the future, which is different. They have enough algorithms and enough computer power and enough knowledge of watching us that they can kind of predict some of the things that are going to happen to us. And I think they use that against us or for us, however you want to look at it.
A lot of that information, just like information's relayed to us in the same way, I give to somebody specific that it was meant to be given to.
It is.
I've noticed, you know, or I'll write something down or type something up that I don't even know anything about, and then I'll come across it later in, 6 months later and be like, "What? I don't remember writing this down," or but yeah, obviously, and it's something that's completely beyond my knowledge at the time, but then I'm learning about it 6 months down the road.
So, people, whoever gives me uh, the year L. Ron Hubbard died, number two got to be the 20th one on my email, though, not just the first one. For the person who gives me
Oh, that's
the year he
creepy
died,
power.
the 20th, it's this is a book called Fear. And whoever wrote me, no, I'm not giving away my hardback leather copy. That's not for y'all. That's for me. It's got to be some perks to knowing people, guys. Let's be honest. But we'll give this one away to the 20th person who writes into iCarCox.net for that. So I want to know when his birthday is. I mean, not his birthday, the day he died. And for these three, the 30th person that writes in, let's do right quick. Boom, pretty book. Look, hot mama on the book. Wait. Another hot mama on the book. And this is a little weird. Now we have a big elephant on the books. I'm not exactly sure what we were saying here. Two hot mamas and then an elephant, a mammoth. So all three of these, you get all three of these if you write in, if you're the 30th caller. I'm sorry, the 30th person to write into iCarCox.
I was gonna say you gotta give them an address or a phone number, whichever
Yeah,
you're doing.
so 30th person to write into iCarCox. I need to know when L. Ron Hubbard's what his day, date, and birth of his birth was. I want his day, the month, day, and year of his birthday. So if you tell me that, you can have all three of them. But be sure who y'all send me stuff, people. Send me your contact information so I can send them to you. Okay. I got lots of books I'm trying to get out here, but so that's book 36, 37, 38. There, I've met the winners of all three of these books. They're great people with a lot of fun. There's a lot of great artwork in there. What do you mean by good looking? Yeah, some of them were good looking, some were a little scary, but whatever. They were all nice people. Last year's group, three were from the UK, three were from Australia, one was from Spain, one was from South America somewhere, and then the rest were from the US. But lots of winners, lots of fun, lots of people. You meet lots of people. Remember, there's 24 altogether. There's 12 illustrators and 12 writers. So there's always 24 winners. And then sometimes they do like an honorable mention and things like that. So the first year I went, it was for 2 years. It was insane, is what it was. I worked my ass off. Oh yeah, I got a lot of good interviews. A lot of these interviews are up on the uprntalkradio.com site. So get right into those so we know. Trisha May from Wisconsin just won the Fear book. Let me write that down so I don't forget.
Who?
Oh, we got Trisha May.
Oh, congratulations, another Trisha. See, it's probably me and like an alternate. It's an alternate me that won it because I was talking about how I wanted it.
Cheyenne, Wyoming. Well, that's like the biggest city in Wyoming, isn't it? Trisha May. How weird. Are you lying to me? Is that your real name, people? Come on, is that your real name? I don't believe that's your real name. It is your real name. Well, I'm just asking. Don't get all offended. Only 10 of y'all written in so far about his birthday. You gotta send it to the email. You can't send it to my phone. It's cheating. Somebody's cheating and sending it to the phone. What's that? Oh, we getting ready to go, but what do you mean? What's my most memorable psychic moment? Ooh, that's tough, man. I don't. That's a tough. That is tough. For me, the awakening for me was very young. I used to have these horrific nightmares when I was young. I don't even know what they were about, but they were horrific. And I started learning. I started watching Star Trek, the original series, and I started programming the episodes into my head. So when I went to bed at night, I could just basically replay the episode. Somewhere along the line, I realized I could change the episode. I could add in stuff, subtract stuff, make stuff change differently. I realized that I could actually die in a dream and not actually die in reality. I realized all my dreams were in color, which was great, which was kind of nice. I realized I could completely interact. And I realized when I was having a nightmare, I could generally change it and turn it into something else now, which was cool. Didn't realize it was a psychic gift until later on. But still, a lot of people can't do it. Most of the people I know can't control their dreams. They'll tell you they can, but when you test it, they can't. And I can't. I can control 90%. Sometimes before I get a chance to control, somebody will wake me up. So I don't know if I could work my way out of that one or not. But it's very interesting. But I don't know. It's psychic. Well, when you're psychic, you learn a lot of things about people you probably didn't want to know. You sense things about people that you shouldn't do. Well, here you go. So general attractions. So let's say you're at home with some friends and your sister's over, your wife's there, your girlfriend's there, and there's other females there. Then you're sitting there and you keep getting this sense of some strange attraction, looking at your wife and it's not her. She's off doing whatever the hell she's doing, whatever, your girlfriend. And you just know there's somebody there. Well, most guys, the smart thing would be to ignore it because it's not anything you should be worrying about. but you're not, because it's going to start to bother you after a while, especially if you're even a little bit. So most guys or most girls will start to test it, either by flirting or something else along the lines. And the person will generally reveal themselves. And when they do, it's like a rush. You can really feel it, the whole emotional thing. It's like when they kind of flirt back, it's okay. So they're flirting and they're doing whatever cute thing they're doing. But when they do it, you get a rush. It's like taking a shot of alcohol or something, because you can feel the emotion being released and you pick it up. Whatever that cute thing the guy, the girl's doing, the emotion behind it, you have now just experienced. Well, that's cheating. You've got them, whoever they are. You know, now you know the feeling and you know how intense the feeling is. You've got them. Just a couple of words here and there, pretty much whatever you want. And it goes further than that. It's not just about sex, it's about business. And I think somebody asked me just a few years ago, do I ever cheat at work? And I do. And being empathic helps me. A lot of times when I'm negotiating prices, I will push a price because I can sense the customer is okay with the price. And I can sense when they're starting to get aggravated with me and stop. It's a way to cheat. It's a way to get your max amount on your money.
I was a dealer, so.
You know,
I mean, a car dealer. Let's.
Sure. I think we're going to stick with the
I was
first
gonna say,
dealer. Yeah.
yeah.
We're going
Well,
to stick with the first one.
car and card, I should say. I worked in the vehicle. I was in uh, vehicle sales and table games. But I could change the, if a person was rude to me, um, and made me mad, I would never pay. It just changed the cards. I'd never pay them again.
Now, let's see. We go. Has Bono. I'm going to put your name right there. Has Brano. There's no way I'm going to say that. I'm going to just put it down here. You're from Brazil, huh? Well, I'm going to send you all 3 books. Be sure you send me over your address. Has It almost looks like Hesborough, but there's no O at the end of it. But anyway, send your information, and I thank you for writing in. And I'm sure Trish appreciates you listening to her radio show.
Absolutely.
And I wonder if that's a guy or a girl's name. Look, I don't know. You can tell me. Oh, you are female. Okay, well, don't get upset. So, I'm not Spanish. I know a lot of Spanish, but I'm not Spanish. So, but anyway, I will send you all 3 of those books. Good story in there. Whoever asked me earlier, they are. You can get some of them translated. I told me recently that some of the books have been translated, so you can probably get it in Spanish and stuff like that. Spanish and Mandarin are probably the most 2 translated things out there. Well, Mandarin's more than likely the second most largely spoken language behind English. Yeah, everybody speaks English because it's the universal language. And if you fly on an airplane, you got to know how to speak English if you plan on landing your airplane anywhere. Yes, it's the universal language. It's supposed to be the business language, is what it's supposed to be. I don't know. Well, maybe we'll be learning Mandarin when I come back in the next life. Oh, I don't know if I froze. Oh no, she moved. Okay, I don't know if you froze or if I froze. Somebody froze. Okay. My screen keeps jumping all over the place. Damn. I got my messenger. I got my window open for Messenger, which when I say that, people, it's like 2 Facebook pages and 2 Instagram pages go to that Messenger. For some reason, one of them Facebook pages don't go there. It's like, screw you, buddy. Uh-huh. She's married with like 10 kids. Yes, you can't hit on Trish. She's married. Yeah, I mean, literally, she got like 10 of the little bastards. Oh,
You're
man, y'all
so
don't still
full of
know.
it.
So the other day she had them out. They look like gnomes out in her yard. I was like, look at this shit, height line and
I
stuff.
probably do have a lot of kids out there now. Speaking of abductions and hybridization, I know I've got. You know what happened, which is no, seriously. You know what's crazy, and I've heard of this happening to other um people who have had their children taken. So I will randomly get put on an email list of like somebody's school somewhere, a child in school somewhere else in another state, another country, whatever. and I'll start getting like the report cards and school information about this kid. I mean, this has happened a lot, a lot, a lot. And it's not to a very common or normal email address that it happens to. And then I'll look up, I'll be like, why does that child sound like look or sound so familiar? And I assume it's because they're probably like one of mine.
Mm. Well, you don't know how many you're responsible for on board your ships, and all. You don't know how many might actually be yours.
Oh,
You know,
oh, you
we don't.
glitched. You weren't supposed to say that.
I know, but I'm just, in the old days, they used to talk about it. They don't talk about it anymore. How many might actually be yours? And we don't want to talk about that kind of stuff anymore. But
No.
and no,
But I
Kara.
do feel a
Okay.
connection to them, and it's random. It's I'll just start getting report cards or like school pictures or something of some kid that I don't even know that's halfway across the US or world.
Probably one of them little heathen children on board the ship that got kicked off.
They'll have red hair and
Say, where'd you come from? Well, I don't know, but I was this is where I'm living now. Well, I mean, it's weird because that like Rachel's eyes, her daughter-in-law was a hybrid, which there's not really much of. There's not people always want to think that the aliens are here doing hybrids and stuff, but it's not really what they're doing. I mean, they do hybrids, but not for here, for other places.
Right.
There's no read, and they're not making hybrids of themselves. They already think they're perfect. If somebody says, "Oh, the Greys are all messed up," the Greys are quite happy with who they are. They have superhuman strength, superhuman intelligence. They have ships that are alive. They don't want to change. They're quite happy. They don't have to get pregnant anymore, and they have unlimited lifespans. Of course, they're happy. They're not like us peons. I said they're trying to save us. We're not trying to save them. I said I don't know what it is about humans. We have to make everything about us. It's about them. They're just doing it about us because it's about them. But no, it's always got to be about the humans. The humans. Yes, as they always call them on sci-fi, they always call them humans, not humans. Humans. I think we should change the name of the planet to Terra, or not Gaia, because we're not local to this planet. I'm surprised Gaia hasn't given us an eviction notice yet. Said, "Bitches, get off my planet. Go back to Mars where you freaking belong, you
It's
dumbasses."
hilarious. One of the first times I ever was fully aware and conscious of being abducted and remembered it was with one of my exes, and all of a sudden there was something that looked like crop circles on the wall, like literally a shadow came in through like the balcony, and right across like a business down the street or whatever was named Gaia. And I was like, isn't that isn't
Said,
that
"Gaia me
something?
this, people. Gaia me
Isn't that
that."
isn't that something?
Uh, who's? What do you mean questions? Well, actually, we're just hanging out because nobody's
Oh
following
my
us for a
gosh,
little while. Yeah, I
it's
know we got to go.
10:16. I didn't even realize
Uh,
it was after.
Marco, one last question, quick. What do you mean? How can you become empathic? Okay.
Well,
All
good
right.
luck with that one. That
If
you
you're
got that, Joe.
empathic or you're not, I don't know how else to tell you. Why do you sense? When your wife's mad, when your kids are mad. Is that empathic abilities or is that just intelligence? Well, I'm just asking. Some people can figure it out without having to be empathic. So let me ask you this: do you know, like, if your wife's in a good mood or a bad mood when she's on her way home? Well, see there, you're already empathic. Okay. Not something I can really talk about on radio. You can write to me at icrackcox.net. It takes, if you want like an intimacy thing with empathic abilities, then you've just things you just have to learn. You have to you have to learn how to sense the other person's emotions. You've got to know when it's a true emotion and not I'm being faked out. In other words, oh yeah, honey, I'll give you a quickie. You don't really want to do it, kind of. You want to really do it, kind of thing. That's not going to work. It's just you'll just take your time. Now that you know you are, just take your time and
And there's other even animals, plants can also affect.
yeah, that's a good point
Like, how
because
do you know whether you're picking up on your partner's emotions or your dog who wants more
yeah,
attention?
well,
You know what
it's
I mean?
funny.
Like,
Generally, good empaths, dogs and cats and kids tend to migrate towards them.
Yeah.
They like them for some reason, or maybe because they can sense them, they trust them. Who knows? I don't know. It's a hard thing to answer. What do you mean? I told you I use my empathic ability all the time. I once
If
I
you have
knew it was
kids,
there.
it's hard for them to, and that they're also empathic. It's Oh man, that's a chaotic household because
My,
it's
my
hard
my
for
son
kids
my
to
son will tell you he's
differentiate.
empathic. Of
But
course,
when they're younger, it's like a little time bomb because it's hard for them to differentiate what's their own emotions
yeah,
and
because
what's, other kids at school or on the bus or in the household or
yeah,
whatever.
he'll be asking me questions, and all of a sudden my brain clicks, and it's like, okay, Dad, I gotta go. Yeah, I bet you do, you little bastard. Oh man, I love you to death. What can you do? But no, Marco, really and truly, it's something you got to take, and you have to figure out if your other half is empathic. She may or may not be. Even if she's not, though, you can still experience a lot of her emotions. She may not be able to experience a lot of yours, and you can share with a non-telepathic person,
Hmm.
non-empathic person. You can still share your emotions. You just got to be careful that they're not overwhelming. Um, Truthfully, the first time I ever did it, the girl sat there and cried for like an hour. Not in a mean way, just it was overwhelming. Yes, and of course I didn't know what I was doing either. So
I used to do that.
yeah, so I mean, she was really really
I'd not
happy.
cry. I would be
Yeah,
on the
no, she was
other
really
end making
happy. She was
people
just
cry.
it was too much. So over time, you learn how to use it, and some empaths are stronger empaths than others. Like I said earlier, some are better receivers and transmitters, some better transmitters and receivers, and some can do both. Oh wait, here, hold on, come here, alien, come here. Come here, you little alien. Come here. Come show everybody what I got to live with this. Don't be throwing your alien claws at me. Come here. Well, I would show you this alien dancing on the floor, but it's having issues.
So I have an exciting. I'm going to show you
Ah,
my. Oh my goodness.
I will eat your feet off. Yes. No,
I
don't lick me. You don't
found
lick
the
me.
greatest costume for my papillion, my little dog. It's a pope. So
Uh
he's
oh.
going to be a pope pillion.
It's going to be a Pope Pillion. Oh, no. You hear that, Lola? Pope Pillion. What? No, no
He's about
licking.
8 pounds.
No
So
licking. She's about 4 right now, 5. But the other one, wherever she's at, she's about 11.
yeah, mine's probably a few pounds overweight,
What's
but
the matter,
we're
Jackie? You
working
just
on
seen
that.
its head move? She wanted to know why my neck was moving funny like. Actually, a lot of times when she's on when I'm wearing black like this, a lot of times she'll put her head down. You won't even notice she's there, and then she'll cut her eyes. It freaks people out when she cuts her eyes for some reason. I don't know because she's black as can be. We actually have glow in the dark clothes for her when we got the house lights out. All right, come on, get down, go irritate your sister. I'll be off the air in just a minute, and you can irritate me. Yeah, but really, we do have the glow in the dark clothes because she'll get stomped on. That and she likes to burrow under your pillow and go to sleep. I'm thinking, dog, what happens when I jump into bed? You and get mushed.
Mine does that too. He sleeps like behind the pillows.
Yeah, or she'll get behind them or in between them like a sandwich.
And
I'm
then
like,
my big dog will come up and just step on him and sit on him and everything else.
yeah, yeah, that's how Fiona is. Fiona's like, bitch, get out of here. I'm the dog. You're some strange little animal in the house that we're not sure what it is. Today my little one was trying to run off a boxer. She's out there with her 11-pound self, growling, snarling, snapping. The boxer looked at her like, okay, I'm leaving. I don't know why I'm leaving, but I'm leaving. Thinking I ought to come eat you, you little bitch. But still.
I think it's literally like Men in Black. I think the little ones are like that little pug.
Oh yeah, no. She's a mouser. She'll go after anything she sees. She don't have no problem chasing something down. It was funny. Her very first fight, she got into it with a poodle. Poodle ran her up the stairs, embarrassed her beyond belief. I was just laughing. So, but it pissed her off because I was laughing at her. 3 days later, the poodle was back outside. She tore off, ran that poodle all the way off the property into the guy's house and wouldn't let it out. I was
Did she
like,
pee in your
yeah,
shoe
no, because
because you
Daddy
were
would step
laughing
on her
at her?
head. No, if I had a cat, I've had cats do that shit before. Cats are
Oh, they're
hard.
temperamental.
Yes, they are. They are vindictive little shits, man. They'll ambush you and stuff on top of TVs and things. They're crazy like that. I'm serious, people. You ain't got a cat. If you ain't got a cat, you don't know what you're missing out on. But no, I don't want any cats right now. I got 2 dogs. I've had many cats in my life, many dogs. I'm happy with what I have right now. I know we got to go, but y'all write to Trisha got any moans, groans, bitches, or gripes because I'm not going to answer y'all. What do you mean? Why she look orange? I don't know. Ask
I
her. She
don't
does look a
we
little
yeah,
orange.
we were talking about that. I don't know. I don't know. I don't have
Her face looks.
anything.
She's just blushing. Don't worry about it.
I
The
don't even
alien,
have makeup on
the
today
aliens
to
made
be
her blush.
orange. So
The aliens made you
I
blush. Well,
don't.
you look like you're blushing because you're only orange from here up. You're
I
white from
think
here
it's my
down.
background. I changed, the background on my banner thing up there on the screen, and I
Uh,
think it's reflecting off my face.
Johnny Les says it's your alien showing. Okay, well.
I get a spray tan where Trump does, the same place.
Uncle Trumpy.
No,
He
I'm
is
kidding.
probably an alien.
I
That's
don't
the
even have
sad part. He
makeup on,
probably is an alien. Somebody asked me one time, really seriously called in and said, "You think he's an alien?" I said, "He probably is an alien." No, Joe, I'm being serious. I said, "I'm being serious too. He's probably an
He's
alien."
a
I said, "Because
redhead, so I mean.
he's obviously different than the rest of us." So I said, he's thing.
Mhm.
Oh no, it was out earlier. Yeah, look, we both had him on our shoulder
We
earlier when we
both have.
started out there. It was out there. It was. Somebody couldn't believe. They said, "I've never seen you wear your ponytail." I've actually wore it down before, people. Just not. Usually when I'm on air, I don't because it gets all over everything, or it gets sticky and crazy and curly or some shit. No, it's not. You mean what it used to be? No, ponytail used to be just freaking big around. Now it's like this big around. Give me a break. I could use it for like making my own pin. But I know we got to go. Y'all write to Trish. Don't bug me. Look, I gave away the books tonight. Y'all be happy. You be happy, I should say.
I
Uh,
scare them. It's fine. No, but really,
I
thank.
don't know. We got a crazy audience. But go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to thank everyone for listening and watching tonight. It's always fun to catch up with you, Joe. So thank you for agreeing to be
Well,
on
you just
my.
never know where we going. So
So next week is Halloween. I will probably actually I have a plan to it's probably going to be I don't think she can meet with me on that night, so we will probably pre-record it and it is a surprise, but I'm looking forward to that. I try to do witchy stuff on Halloween night that witches do out in nature and stuff. We probably, run around naked and eat
I did.
children or something, but
I got my naked socks out. I got my bra all greased up and ready to go. I got my cape. Well, I gotta wear a cape. It gets a little chilly. Yeah, how things are. You don't want to get too chilly. And
so so I don't know what everybody else is doing for Halloween on the shows on the network, but that's what I'm doing. And be safe, everyone. Again, thank you, Joe. It's been fun. And I don't know. I don't have my outro that you have it. I sent you that.
did I? Oh, shame on me. I must not put it in there. Remind me.
I sent
Send me a.
Joe an outro that I spent a lot of that has my cat on it actually.
Well, you
And
gotta remind me or remind me to look for it. I wonder where I put it.
I don't
It's
know, you
not.
just
It's
pulled it
not
up
in the list.
earlier. So
Hey, hold on. Let's go see if it's in the list before we leave.
it says the missing
Bring that.
piece outro.
Let's go see if
It's
it's in
not in the
here.
list. I will unless you put it there. I don't know.
Let's see. Let's see. I don't see. Into this night with Sean. Missing piece. Oh no, that's all them Folgers commercials. Oh, there's Guide and Echoes. Oh, tomorrow was going to be her last show, but I think last week was her last show. She got
What?
Yeah, she said anyway, she's just leaving for other reasons. But she was going to do a show tomorrow, but somebody informed me she's got COVID.
Oh no.
Yes, I don't know. Who knows? But I think she's just looking for somewhere she can make some money. You know how it is when you get tight for money. And she used to have a pretty good following on YouTube. I think that's what she used to do for a living.
Oh
So
no.
I think she's back into got to get back into the real world. Because somebody asked me the other day about it, and they said, "You actually have a job and you do shows?" I said, "I do 3 shows a week, and yes, I do have a job." So actually, technically, I have 2 jobs. Yeah, like what? I'm like, yeah. So I like what I do.
Yeah, this is
I
like
have
a
fun.
second job for us, but
Yeah,
we but we
yeah,
all have other
and I like
jobs too.
yeah, and I like what I do. I have fun on the station. I said so. So we have a lot of fun hosts, a lot of good people. I said, I don't know. I will ask Michelle if she's going to send out an invite for Halloween for everybody to come hang out and generally be mischievous. Man, let me just find my vampire outfit, man. You mean Lestat ain't got nothing on me, people? Y'all don't even know what the fuck y'all talking about. Beep, excuse my language. I'm just being honest. We used to go to, they have the vampire ball down here. And I don't know if Ann Rice's people are having a party this year since she passed, but
Oh gosh, I forgot. She was my idol when growing up,
she
and I read all of her books.
she did some great parties out of the place she owns down here. And the Vampire Ball is a lot of fun too. So y'all, there's other festivals going on, people, if you want to go down and hang out. And I know on the dungeon the night before All Hallows Eve they do a good party. So there'll be lots of costume contests, lots of drunk people walking around. Go check it out. Have a good time. Honestly, I'll probably hang out on the air, and if I don't have to work Tuesday, I might go to the casinos. Yeah, watch all the freaks at the casinos. Yeah,
That's
there's
a
a
terrible idea.
that's a
Just
freaks at the casino. See, people misunderstand the casino, especially the ones down here. They've got like movie theaters in them. They've got nightclubs in them. Usually, most of them have really
Oh
nice
yeah, the ones
nightclubs in
here
them.
that you just gamble. That's it,
Yeah,
pretty
they
much.
got bars in them. They got food in them. They're not. They got hotel rooms. I mean, so yeah, you can go gamble if you want to, but there's lots of other stuff to do besides gambling. And in the old days, that's how we used to go. We go to a place called Bananas, a great buffet, go in and eat. And when we gambled before Katrina, we actually won quite a lot of money. But since Katrina, the casinos have been tight. I don't know what's
I
going on,
People
but they've been
always
tight.
ask me as a psychic, they're like, you can call off any number on the roulette table or know which machine's going to hit or whatever. I'm like, yeah, but I also don't want to be hit by a streetcar the second I walk out of there. So,
Here's a horror story for you people. A good friend of mine, Tuesday Miles, who's an excellent psychic. She used to work with, I can't think of his name now. He was the white headed guy on the Queen Mary. But um, she calls me up one day. She said, "Hey, I hear you going to a casino later." I said, "Yeah." She goes, "Look, I want you to play Wheel of Fortune. I want you to play the last machine on the end of the row around 6 o'clock." I said, "Okay." So I get there at like 5:30. There's people on the machine right there. So I said, "Okay." So we went and got something to eat. As I'm walking back at like 6:20, this bitch hit $666,000 on the machine she told me to go play on. I was like,
yeah.
Tuesday, I said, don't ever call me anymore. We're not friends anymore. She's like, "What do you mean?" I said, "You bitch, you should have told me somebody was going to be there." She said, "Well, I didn't know." I said, "You seen somebody hitting it?" She knew it, but she's pretty gifted. She's retired these days, but she's pretty gifted, talented psychic.
But we
Just,
can't use it for our own gain. It's like
the
we'll
hell
get
I will. The
struck
hell
down
with
the
that.
next day.
Hilda.
What?
You got to use it properly. You can't use it for bad things. You got to be for
Oh, well,
good
that's
things.
true. But
Okay.
gambling isn't necessarily considered, that then they're like, well, that's not what we gave you that gift for. So it's
Well, we
every
don't know
time
that.
I think of doing something like that, they start showing me signs that say shortcut, shortcut, shortcut. And I'm like, why?
Shortcut to the end of the world. That's what that shortcut is.
Stop it. I don't that they're
Anyway,
saying like you're taking a shortcut to, to learning your lesson or whatever it is you're supposed to do. So, which is
yes.
true, I guess.
But she's
But
got to close this out because I got to go eat, people, because I'm hungry.
yes. So you didn't find my he didn't find my outro. See,
No, I
he
didn't. No, I'm on the
already
wrong
forgot what he
computer.
was doing.
No. I'm on a different computer. I'm on. This is the broadcast. This is my personal broadcast computer. The work computer's over there. It's next to us. It's got its own little thing going on over there. Yes, because I don't like I don't like broadcasting off the computers out that I'm sitting there doing stuff with when y'all are live. So yeah, sorry guys. I don't know where that
Yes.
came
So
from.
Joe's gonna go eat and take a nap. And thank you again for joining us, Joe. Thank you, everyone else. Thank you, Carnation, for sponsoring us again. Um, and we will see you next week. Be safe out there.
Okay. Do do do.